Essex take charge with Cook 145 and 10 in the match for Harmer. For the second round in a row, Simon Harmer shone. His 5-wicket haul on day one at the Cloud County ground puts Essex in charge, and the strong position was capitalised on by twin 50s from Sir Alistair Cook and Tom Wesley to move the hosts to 9 behind the visitors with 9 wickets in hand. The pair had looked serene from the moment they came together following Nick Brown's early departure, and at the resumption, that serenity resumed. The deficit quickly erased, and the experienced campaigners set about building a lead. And themselves a 150-run partnership, the day not yet going to plan for the visitors. No matter what Gloucestershire tried, Cook and Wesley were unmoved, untroubled and unwilling to relent. 200 on the board with a single from the former England captain, who had now moved into the 90s. Wesley joined him there, but with 10 needed for his ton, Gloucestershire finally made the breakthrough they'd been desperate for. Price's delivery beat the outside edge and took off stump to bowl the Essex captain. Cook brought out a trademark shot to move to his 100, chopping the delivery through the space behind point to the boundary. 236 balls to move to the century for a 73rd time in first-class cricket. The former England captain then lost his partner, Dan Lawrence, outskying a catch to Zafar Gahar off the bowling of Price, who now had all 3 to his name. But Walter stuck with Cook through to lunch. Essex in charge at the break, leading by 86 with the score 222 for 3. Walter would fall after lunch with just 4 more added to his total, falling into the trap set by Zafar Gahar, caught at leg slip for 10. Critchley joined Cook in the middle and moved the score beyond 250, but could do little else, out for 7 off the bowling of Gahar. Higgins with a fine catch close in. And Gahar followed it up with another, Snater down the track, a slashing blade aimed over the offside, but to no avail, out for 1, stumped by Bracey. Rossington and Cook recovered, big hitting from the keeper helped Essex take the score to 1 away from 300. But that's where Cook fell, edging through to Bracey off the bowling of Higgins, out for 145. Rossington responded, the 300 brought up with an enormous slog sweep that soared over the pavilion. He tried to repeat the shot a few balls later, but this time Gahar found the pads, and Rossington had to go. LBW for a quick fire 21 off 16. They were running out of steam. Harmer out for a 5-ball duck, out caught low down by Price in the slips off the bowling of Ryan Higgins. And Zafar Gahar was a fitting bowler to finish it off. Porter, his 5th, out for 1, flashing a catch to Van Buren. Essex all out for 310, with a lead of 174. And while they were in charge, that was largely due to Cook's 145 and Wesley's 90. Rossington's 21 off 16 was the only other score higher than 10 in what really had been a good effort with the ball from the visitors, typified by Zafar Gahar's figures of 5 for 84. It was another sorry start from Gloucestershire though, no prizes for guessing who picked up the wicket after tea. Harris out as Harmer turned one through the gate, and then he added Higgins to his growing list of victims, well taken after a bit of juggling at short leg by Nick Brown. Gloucestershire moved past 50 but Harmer was back in the wickets again, Hammond out bowled for 20. He soon had a 4th, Bracey out for 6, well stumped by Rossington, and Dent was next. 5 for Harmer, 10 in the match, LBW for 33. Essex surely now starting to think about wrapping it up today. Van Buren and Ollie Price hit back at Essex and moved the score along to 3 figures, but they were going for it with spin at both ends, and Critchley joined Harmer in the wickets. Van Buren outcaught by Cook for 12. Despite the pressure, Gloucestershire clung on through to the close of play. The score 140 for 6, and the deficit now down to 34. Essex are in total control now, barring a batting miracle from the lower order. The only question left to answer is when Essex will seal the victory on day 3.
Another day, another Simon Harmer exhibition of spin bowling. Yesterday, Tom Wesley ran out of words to describe your bowling, but it's been a real privilege to watch.
Yeah, I guess I see it as my job. If the wicket's turning, I feel like I need to be the one to take wickets. So, enjoy well, I can't really say enjoy, but it is what it is. Like, I see it as my job. So, hopefully a few more tomorrow and we can wrap it up.
And as proven there, I know you're modest about personal achievements, but 15 wickets in the last match and 10 so far in this one, with a few more up for grabs tomorrow. I'm not sure what the record is for wickets in consecutive games, but you'd have to imagine you're pretty close.
Yeah, I think I found it incredibly tough at the start of the season. There wasn't a lot going on in terms of turn and getting anything out of the wicket. So I guess when it's your day, you've got to make sure that you go big, because you don't know when things are going to dry up again. So happy with the run of form and the patch of wickets, but you take the good with the bad, and things change quickly.
And how much credit should go to Cook and Wesley? Those two played pretty much the perfect innings on a wicket and put up a 196 run partnership. No one else really got close to that.
Yeah, I think it probably goes unnoticed. I think their partnership was incredibly special and important in us setting up the game to get 170 runs ahead. I think when they got out, it showed how difficult it was to come in and score on that wicket, and I think Tom and Chef showed their class, how they went about their business, how disciplined they were, stuck to their game plans, and as frustrating it must have been to watch, because we weren't scoring that quickly. I think it was incredibly tough to score. Gloucester bowled well, and they were disciplined. So yeah, hats off to them. They've put us in this position and gave us the ability to come out this evening and attack and look for wickets.
And on Cook, 145 runs for him in this game and a 4th century of the season. He looks in really vintage form, and this innings also lasted more than 6 hours, which is a classic Cook trait, and it's a great sign that he's still batting time at the top of the order.
Yeah, I think it just showed why he has the record that he has, scoring the amount of runs that he did at Test level. I think it was an exhibition of his, showing the discipline and the concentration, two of his better traits, that he stuck to it. But I think he was aided very ably by Tom Wesley, and to feel for him that he couldn't get to his 100 as well.
Adam Rossington claimed a couple of stumpings today, but and also kept brilliantly against Hampshire last time out. How impressed have you been with his keeping, especially standing up to the spinners? Yeah,
I think it's been unbelievable for somebody who's not grown up here and hasn't kept on a Chelmsford wicket. I think he's got incredible hands, and he's shown his class. Last week there were some tough chances, and this week as well. That stumping in the first innings, and he's incredibly quick to whip the bails off and put the umpires under pressure to make decisions. So yeah, he's an asset, and very happy for him that he signed a contract at the club.
We last spoke on Friday night after a tough loss in the Vitality Blast quarterfinals. To come back in this fashion after such a short break suggests you really have the bit between your teeth. What's the attitude like in the changing room?
Yeah, I think everybody was disappointed. I think we all felt that we played good cricket throughout the T20 competition, and probably the best that we've been in a few years, including 2019. But it wasn't meant to be for us. But obviously, there's a very ambitious squad and a very ambitious change room, and the boys wanted to come out and make a push for the 4-day competition, and we've still got the 50 overs to look forward to. So still plenty of fight left, and happy that the guys could come out and put Friday behind them and put in a strong showing this week.
Do you want me to tell you what he's written? Well, not being rude or discourteous, I've not decided yet what I'm doing because we aren't on air till 1:40. What's on this morning?
Tour de France? No, that'd be late. That'd be later. Maybe they've got an IPL game they're going to play the highlights.
That's Rugby League, apparently from Australia. Queensland versus New South Wales are the state of origin.
State of origin. I mean, well, why? Right. This is the British Broadcasting Corporation, isn't it? Yeah. This thing isn't on, is it? 1212. Right. So, Ollie Price. What is Khan's first name?
He's Zafar Gohar.
Zafar Gohar, because they've got Khan on there and they've got Gohar on here.
Khan is just his last name, but he doesn't use it.
Last name, isn't it?
He goes by Zafar Gohar.
Thank you.
I just call him Zafar because that's what they tend to do anyway.
Bloke has contacted me over the road there for, I've forgotten his name, is it Tony? Saying, good morning, please make sure audio for stream is connected. It's connected, yeah. I think it's on. Glenn Dunnett, please confirm. Please confirm.
It's been on for like a quarter of an hour.
Well, a very good morning to you and welcome to day 3 of this county championship match at a blazing hot Chelmsford. Essex against Gloucestershire. Glenn Speller, Ed Seaborn and Don Topley with you for what could be a short visit this morning, or Gloucestershire looking to extend this game, get a lead, get ahead of Essex and maybe give them a tricky run chase. As it stands at the moment, Gloucestershire will resume on 140 for 6 in their second innings. They're still 34 runs short of making Essex bat again, and it would appear their hopes rely very much on Ollie Price, who's unbeaten on 42 at the moment, and he's at the wicket with Zafar Gohar, who made a good unbeaten 29 in the first innings and is currently 10 not out. Essex just heading out onto the field now. Simon Harmer, you would expect to open the bowling this morning. 10 for 95 so far in the game. I'll be updating BBC Essex listeners during the 11 o'clock news, but let's welcome for the first time this morning Ed, and be interesting to see Gloucestershire's approach this morning. The game previous here, where Hampshire were under the pump against Essex, they came out and just attacked everything.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see the approach as well. I think neither Zafar nor, from what we saw yesterday evening, Ollie Price are just going to let Simon Harmer bowl at them. At the same time, I don't think they're going to come charging down the pitch and actually try to clear the river. Ollie Price yesterday hit 7 boundaries in an innings of 42 off 33 balls, but I think nearly all of the 7, if not all 7, were sweeps and reverse sweeps, and they didn't leave the ground for very long. He actually played them really quite nicely, but it's a new day and he's got to start over again this morning. Zafar would, you would think, present a decent chance of being able to combat Simon Harmer. Even though he is a left-hander, he is probably more used to these sorts of pitches than some of the other Gloucestershire batters, and at the first kind of point of call for Gloucestershire is to avoid the innings defeat, but they'll be wanting to go on beyond that, of course, but that's hard work for sure against Simon Harmer, the way he's been bowling.
Especially when he is, surprise, surprise, going to open the bowling from the river end. He's going to be bowling to Zafar Gohar. And 34 runs this morning is Gloucestershire's first target. Harmer, who has 10 for 95 in the match so far, is in around the wicket, bowling to Gohar on the sweep, and he's going to pick up runs here. As wide fine leg has to come around a long way, and they get off and running with a couple of runs. So that'll just steady things down for Gloucestershire right at the start here. Harmer, who in the previous game here picked up career best figures against Hampshire, 15 for 207, and he's ready to come in again to Gohar. 2 slips in, one wearing a helmet, the other not. Harmer is in around the wicket to Gohar, who just stands in the crease and pushes that one out behind square on the onside and picks up another run, moves the score up to 143 for 6.
I noticed that Dan Lawrence at second slip has not decided to field on his knees with his hands on the floor today. He was doing that yesterday, obviously highly sort of tactical move to decide to stand up today. I'm not sure exactly what determines that, but he has just decided to do what everybody else usually does at second slip.
Well, that happened. Remember the title decider basically between Somerset and Essex at Taunton a few years ago now, as Harmer is in and bowling to Price now. Price on the sweep, fetches that one. Nice diving, tumbling stop behind square on the onside. And they pick up another single, 144 for 6, where Essex have been hustled out in their first innings at Taunton and were back in. Just needed to see out a few overs, and they were surrounding the Essex batters, where the Somerset fielders on their knees. Just going to update BBC Essex listeners. Yes, good morning, Pete. We've in the first over of the morning here, and Gloucestershire have moved on from their overnight 140 for 6 to 144 for 6, so they're still 30 runs short of making Essex bat again on day 3 of this county championship match. Simon Harmer, not much of a surprise, he's opening the bowling this morning from the River End. 10 for 95 so far in the match for him. 3 fielders around the Gloucestershire batters. Essex trying to get this one wrapped up early in blazing hot conditions here. It's live on the BBC Sport website and app right now, and Gloucestershire 144 for 6. So yes, that is a tactic from close infielders when they're chasing wickets, of kneeling and crouching, getting right in close. This next one from Harmer is swept once again, and fine leg has to sweep around, but only the single on this occasion for Gohar, but nothing really there to cause any deep concerns to the Gloucestershire batters. 145 for 6.
The first person I can remember doing it was Marcus Trescothick, but I'm not sure whether anybody did it before him. I suppose it's probably just, if you are that close, I don't know, maybe it's just a few inches closer and you feel that you need to get down lower because of the bounce. I'm not quite sure. I'm not exactly sure what would change from yesterday evening to this morning is my point. Anyway, I always like to see it because it's good fun. Jamie Porter will open the bowling from the Hayes Close end. Wondered who would be Essex's choice. You'd have thought if they were to go seamer it would be Porter. Matt Critchley was bowling yesterday evening, picked up the wicket of Van Buren for 12. He had him caught at slip, and that's the only wicket that's not been taken by Simon Harmer so far. So they've decided to go with seam rather than spin from the Hayes Close end, and as was pointed out to me over the last 2 days, Jamie Porter does very much prefer this end.
Yeah, he does favour the Hayes Close end. Had Sam Cook been playing, you would have expected him to have been opening the bowling from that end. Porter has been shorn of action really so far this summer, but he's going to get a lot of action, you think, for the rest of the summer, with Cook being away, England duty possibly, and also with the 100.
So Porter round the wicket to the left-handed Zaffer, who turns the ball into the leg side, and it's fielded there by Simon Harmer at a straight short mid-wicket, and there are 2 of those with Nick Brown in position at the more conventional short mid-wicket. There's just the 1 slip in place. We haven't seen too many slip catches in this one, and the ones that we have been quite low down, and they've tended to be with the new ball as well. That is slip catches off seamers, of course. Porter in and bowling, and that's flicked off the hip by Zaffer down towards deep backward square leg. It'll be intercepted before it gets to the boundary, and there will just be the single. Zaffer moving on to 15, Gloucestershire 146 for 6.
BBC Essex Cricket at gmail.com if you want to email, at BBC Essex Sport on Twitter. Paul's first up on the email, says, good morning, I'm in bed sick watching Essex. Get well soon, Paul. Let's hope we can get Gloucestershire out nice and quick before lunch. Would be great. Have a lovely day, he says, at the best cricket ground in the world. Well, get well soon, Paul. I hope you haven't got what everybody else seems to be getting at the moment, the dreaded lurgy.
Yes, I've certainly been there. Although, as it turned out, I ended up missing Somerset absolutely shellacking Gloucestershire in the local derby, so it could have been worse. Porter bowling to Price, bowled him! Off stump is cartwheeling backwards, and Jamie Porter gets his first wicket of the innings, and that is the end of Ollie Price. He played Harmer so well, but he's fallen to Porter for 43, and Gloucestershire 146 for 7, still 28 behind.
Possibly a little bit of nip, but I think he's played round something that was relatively straight there. Might just have nipped back, not too much, but they say just all you need, just a little bit of nip. You don't want too much, and always a spectacular sight for home support and also for the bowlers and fielders alike when the, as you said, Ed, the off stump goes cartwheeling back. It's a good effort though from Price. He batted well, but that's the first wicket of the morning and just the second over of the day, and Gloucestershire is still 28 short of making Essex bat again.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose all the thought in his mind, not all the thought, but a great deal of it would have been, how are you going to play Harmer? We're just going to keep doing the same thing as yesterday, and it looked as if he was, really. He got away that sweep shot just behind square on the leg side, which was well stopped by Walter. It was only a single, but that was how he picked up a good 3 or 4 at least of his 7 boundaries. So he'd started off quite assured against Harmer, but Jamie Porter, with his first ball to Ollie Price in the morning, has got one past his defence and to remove his off stump. So still 28 runs behind, and one Price replaces another as Tom comes out to the middle at number 9. Very capable with the bat, Tom Price, but surely there's far too much work for him to do in terms of setting Essex a total, but they'd still fancy their chances from this position with Tom at the crease of at least avoiding the innings defeat.
You see one Price replacing another. There's a line in there about 2 prices for the price of 1 or something. I can't quite get my head around. There's something there. bbcscricket@gmail.com if you've got a line.
2 slips. Harmer's quite close at second, and that one does look as if it comes back a little towards Tom Price, and he defends it up towards mid-on, and there is no run. At the moment, Tom is actually beating his brother in terms of batting averages career-wise, so the, I suppose, friendly sibling rivalry for that at the moment is going Tom's way. Ollie is probably considered to be more of the future batter, whereas Tom probably would be bowling all-rounder slash bowler who is very useful with the bat. Porter in and bowls, and Tom Price works this one away, leg side. It'll be fielded forward square leg though, and there is no run. Tom's career best, as I think I mentioned yesterday, 71, which came in the penultimate game of last season. In fact, the game right after Gloucestershire had lost here, where he finished with a 71 against Glamorgan, as Gloucestershire's lower order piled on the runs in that one. They're going to have to do more than that here. Porter in and bowls to Tom Price, who defends, but the ball scooped up in the air for a little bit, was down well before it got to Brown at cover. But that's the end of a really good first over of the morning from Jamie Porter. It just looked like there was enough there for him. As you say, the wicket delivery looked as if it was probably the one that did the least, at least of the next few. And after 41 overs of Gloucestershire's second innings, 146 for 7, Zafar on 15, and Tom Price just out in the middle, yet to get off the mark.
The run fest continues at Southport. Well done to Luke Wells, 99 not out overnight, has made his century for Lancashire, who are 169 without loss in reply to Somerset's 446 all out. Saw a little quote from Luke Wells last night where he says, look, if I was 21, I'd be more nervous being 99 not out. I think I've seen enough cricket to not be too nervous.
Yeah, there are some players around the country where you just think, how did your previous county let you go? And Luke Wells is without a doubt one of those. I mean, they had some sort of policy, I think, at Sussex of only wanting players who could play all formats. If you've got a player like Luke Wells, well, I don't know. Seems bizarre.
Simon Harmer to continue from the River End. Essex with the one breakthrough this morning, 146 for 7 Gloucestershire. Harmer is in and bowling, and that's just pushed out to the offside for no run. Elsewhere, Hampshire 370 for 9 declared, replying to Warwickshire's 217 all out. Warwickshire's 17 without loss, so still 136 behind. So Harmer is in once again to Zafar, and Zafar playing pleasantly enough up to mid-off for no run. Kent 296 for 5, replying to Northamptonshire's 303 all out, and Yorkshire 521 all out at Scarborough. Surrey 197 for 1. Here's Harmer in. Again, giving that plenty of flight, aimed more on middle and leg, and that's just worked out in front of square on the onside, and they pick up a single, 147 for 7. Rory Burns, 97, not out up there in North Yorkshire.
I like Hampshire's move to declare there actually as well, because it's often thought that at the Aegeus Bowl the best time to bowl is first thing in the morning, as with a lot of places, so they gave themselves a couple of goes at Warwickshire late last night and this morning, but has yet to make a breakthrough in that second innings. But they're very much in control there, Hampshire, and they could make quite a decent move in the title chase, with Yorkshire and Surrey seemingly heading towards a draw.
Harmer into the right-handed Price now. Oh, that's turned a long way and ends up being played off around about middle and leg into the onside for no run. Division 2, Derbyshire 23 for 3 lead Durham by 10 runs with 7 second innings wickets standing. Glamorgan 73 without loss in their second innings lead Nottinghamshire by 106 runs. So Harmer in again to Price off the back foot, pulling into the onside, but didn't really get hold of it, and the skipper Tom Wesley fields no run. Middlesex are 188 for 7, which is what they were bowled out for in their first innings, leading Worcestershire by 185, and Leicestershire 167 for 1, still trailing Sussex by 421 runs in first innings. Harmer into Price, lots of flight again, and Price able to play from the crease, and another Simon Harmer over goes past, with Gloucestershire at 147 for 7. Just looking at that Leicestershire score as well, because there's a former Essex batter at the wicket, Rishi Patel, who's unbeaten on 69 at the moment.
Yeah, Louis Kimber 98 not out, and I have a feeling there's quite a clan of Kimbers at there's 2, says Dom. Indeed, that's what I was going to say, because I've umpired at least 1 or 2 of them back when I used to live in Lincolnshire for Lyndham. And Don says both came to his festivals. It's Porter then, from round the wicket, from the Hayes Close end, bowling to Zaffer inside edge, and that squeezes away behind square on the leg side. It'll be a single. Lawrence, the fielder, from fine leg. The sun hat comes flying off before he sends the throw in, and Zappa picks up a rather squirty single behind square on the leg side. 17 to him now, 148 for 7. It's a lovely place to play cricket actually. I mean, it's not that you can see the cathedral from the ground, from certain parts of the ground anyway at Lincoln, and it's a very good pitch to play your cricket on. So a little bit of, even though, of course, I consider myself Gloucestershire first, as in comes Porter and Tom Price defends away towards backward point. That is where I umpired in league cricket, so I've got a bit of a connection with Kimber, so it'd be quite nice if he manages to get over the line with a century.
Morning to Martin, says great commentary, nice banter yesterday, he says. In the garden again after finishing my tasks. If I legged it the 20 miles to Chelmsford, says Martin, would there be any cricket left to watch?
Well, it's free entry today, isn't it?
There is that.
So you don't have to pay the entrance fee. I don't know what you're hesitating for. It's a shot to nothing if you're running. Porter charging in, bowls to Tom Price, and that's defended robustly by Tom Price. Back to Jamie Porter, and there is no run.
And if you keep us on, Martin, you can always turn round. or maybe go and sit by the river and have your lunch maybe in the city centre of Chelmsford.
Yes, it's nice, a nice spot there with the parched grass
Yeah.
there, as with everywhere else at the moment. God, dread to think what it's going to look like in a week or so's time. It'll be like that summer when Surrey racked up that record score against Gloucestershire, as Porter bowls to Tom Price, who opens the blade, guides it away, backward of point. There'll be just the single. That's good work from
Shane Snater.
Yeah, scuttled off after that one and kept it down to just the single. Thought there was probably going to be 2 there off the bat, and Tom Price is off the mark. 149 for 7. The deficit now sitting at 25.
Simon on Twitter says the outfield looks very brown. The greens at my golf club are similar. Stand by for standpipes, he says. Stand by for hosepipe ban, Simon, I think.
Yeah. In comes Porter, bowls to Zaffer, who stabs that one away out into the covers, and there is no run. Yeah, the outfield's not only, of course, is it just the fact that there's no or little live grass on them, so hard. You wouldn't, I wouldn't want to be diving about on them. It gets to the stage where even in this day and age, you'd think you'd say to your fast bowlers, okay, just don't dive on that. Just stay on your feet. Porter is in, and that's whipped away fine by Zaffer, and down to the boundary for 4. Porter just straying a little too straight, and Zaffer swivelling on it and getting a boundary. Brings up Gloucestershire's 150, 153 for 7. Zaffer moving into the 20s on 21.
50 for Hashim Amla up at Scarborough as well. I think you'll find he's probably settled in for bed, breakfast and everything else that he can get included in that as well. He's going to take full toll of good conditions, and Louis Kimber has a century.
Ah, very good. Well done to him. I'm a bit surprised if even Scarborough are struggling to take wickets, then what? Where is safe now? If even Scarborough is a run fest.
There wasn't that long ago. Essex were up there. Was it Amir, I think, ran
Yes, I think it was
absolute riot,
2017, because I was actually there at that game.
Ran riot that particular, the first morning. Here's Harmer in from the river end, and right back on his stumps is Price, and pushing back down the pitch for no run.
I mean, normally you think it's one of the best places in the country as far as, you know, to be a seamer, get a bit of pace and bounce out of that pitch.
Harmer in again, forward short leg, a leg slip in too, and that's, well, an attempt at working it behind square, but it rolls up the thigh pad, and Rossington does the fielding, and there's no run. Harmer 10 wickets in the match for the second successive game here at Chelmsford, whirling away. A bit more flight on that one, attempted slog sweep, which Price gets nothing on, and Rossington takes and offers the ball to the stumps, but that back foot of Price firmly planted behind the line.
That was how he got off the mark in the first innings with a slog, well, obviously not like that exactly, but a slog sweep which he connected with. It was his first class 6.
This next one from Harmer is pushed into the onside. There's an appeal for LBW, but there was a big woody sound, so I thought they felt that it struck the foot first and then the bat, but they do come through for the single. 153 for 7. I think it might be 154. Actually, it is 154 for 7. Yes, another 20 runs required.
I think Tom Price was worried about that as well, because of the fact that he didn't run more than the single. The ball almost went to the boundary.
Harmer around the wicket into Zaffer, just plays defensively, solidly, bat and pad together, back up to Harmer, and no run. Martin's back on, says, that's my problem about visiting Chelmsford today. I've got a blood test, he says, at 3:15 at Hyams Park. In the past, my local overground station master observed, are you back already? Here's Harmer into Zaffer, and Zaffer again. I'm not going to take any risks. It's played defensively, and that's the end of the over. 154 for 7, a further 20 runs required by Gloucestershire to make Essex bat again. A further 3 wickets required by Essex, so the batters don't have to get the pads back on.
Yeah, I have to say, Tom Price must have been. I mean, I think there was a certain element of him wanting to stay there just to make sure that he could, as subtly as possible, signal to the umpire that he did hit it. But either way, he was worried enough to do that. So, yeah, it can't have been far off if it was pad first. As I say, it was almost to the fine leg boundary, and there was no fine leg, and they still only just got the single. It means that Tom Price is on strike for this next over from Porter, his 9th of the innings so far. And here he comes past umpire Baldwin and bowls a delivery which comes back probably a bit too much for his liking, and is turned down towards fine leg for a single by Tom Price. He moves on to 3. Gloucestershire are behind by 19 now, but they've already lost their top scorer, not just in this innings, but in the match. Ollie Price's 43, the highest score of any Gloucestershire batter. It was Graham Van Buren who top scored with 34 in the first innings, and both those innings have been in fairly quick time, so I don't know what that says. Porter bowls to Zaffer, who's on the back foot playing back to Jamie Porter on the bounce. But of course, the two big innings in the match belonging to Cook and Westley in Essex's innings, and they certainly didn't go about things quickly from the number of emails that we had in about Essex's slow scoring rate throughout the season. There was a fair amount of frustration, I think it's fair to say.
We'd seen that in a few games here. I mean, more so than the opening game here against Kent, where it was painfully slow for both sides, admittedly.
Porter round the wicket, bowling to Zaffer, who defends away into the leg side. Picked up by Harmer at short straight mid-wicket, and it's a dot.
And you look at it and you say the two innings of Westley and Cook are the difference in this game. You go back to the game here against Hampshire, where Shane Snater's late order hitting in the first innings, that was almost the kind, that was the deciding factor, where Hampshire had got Essex 5 down in relatively quick order, and then Snater came in, some late order hitting, got them up to a decent total, and then the Essex bowlers did the rest, and on just such fine margins the game swing.
Porter starting his approach, and he's to the crease now and bowls. Zaffer trying to work that one leg side again, but he's ended up playing it more back to the bowler, so not quite off the middle of the blade, but played comfortably enough. Yeah, I mean, to a certain extent, some of the wickets were falling because Essex were trying to get on with it after that Cook and Westley partnership. But the debate, I suppose, was, did they put too much pressure on the middle order to score quickly that they then ended up losing the wickets, or did it show that actually Cook and Westley assessed the surface and realised that this wasn't a surface where you'd be able to go crash bang wallop on, as Zaffer tries to do just that to this next ball from Porter, goes for a huge booming drive, and I think he's inside edged that onto his leg potentially. Certainly didn't get much bat on it.
First time I've looked to be really expansive this morning. Zaffer, look at the league table, the County Championship Division 1 table. Surrey top, 143 points. Hampshire 127, Lancashire 122, and Essex 96. But key for Essex, they have a game in hand, which is key. Big couple of weeks coming up. Surrey next week, and then Somerset the following week.
Porter round the wicket and bowls to Zaffer, who works that one to Harmer at short straight mid-wicket again, and there is no run. Yes, I suspect when it comes to that Essex versus Somerset match, Gloucestershire supporters will. What's the word? There's a word in Italian football where they have those kind of arrangements between fans. So, for example, I think Napoli and Lazio have that sort of arrangement, because it's the sort of any enemy of yours is a friend of mine type thing. And there's a word for it, an Italian word for it, and I can't remember what it is.
bbcscricket@gmail.com
yes,
if you know the word.
Indeed. Gemellaggio, something like that, I think it's called. There could be that between Essex and Gloucestershire fans if Essex didn't keep thrashing Gloucestershire in the Championship.
Harmer from the River End, and Price just plays defensively for no run. Yes, the bottom of the table, Gloucestershire 53 points from 8, Somerset 61 from 7, and Northamptonshire 81 from 7, and Kent 84 from 8. So Harmer's in again to Price. Price goes for the slog sweep. He's picked that one up, and it's gone the full distance. And he picks up 6 runs. We saw Hampshire do it in the previous game here, particularly in the second innings, to really good effect, which, if you can damage figures when you've taken 15 wickets in the game, did make Harmer's figures look a little bit lopsided, and immediately the ball is tossed to the umpire to have a look at.
Yes, as always.
161 for 7, 13 more required by Gloucestershire. Harmer is in, and Price going for it again, and he's picked it up again. He's going to get another 6. This one's gone even further. It's gone into the top tier of the Tom Pearce stand, so successive maximums from Tom Price takes the score to 167 for 7.
Well, I suppose at this stage, why not? And I like the fact that he's not coming out of his crease to do it, because at least it removes the possibility of the turn and bounce having him stumped. And that one, as you say, was even bigger than the last one.
Well, he's gone to 15. Harmer's into him again, and this time driving over mid-off, and he'll pick up 4 more runs here, and Harmer has chin in hand as he just considers what he might do with the next delivery.
I suppose the thinking is fairly sound in a way, isn't it? Because Harmer isn't quite the same bowler in T20 cricket as he is in Championship cricket. Obviously, he's still a very good bowler, but it's sort of, terrific rather than best in the business kind of thing when it comes to county cricket.
171 for 7. Harmer's had 16 taken off him in the last 3 balls. That's flatter, that's quicker, and it's worked into the onside, but there'll be no run there this time for Price.
That's what you want, isn't it? You want Harmer to be bowling that delivery rather than one which he flights, tosses up, which can turn and bounce and get you out.
He's in again. Forward short leg creeps in a bit slower. Driven for 4 more. Good shot that again by Price. No risk with that one. It was flat around about ankle height, and the innings defeat is avoided by Gloucestershire as they go to 175 for 7.
Well, that happened rather quickly. Didn't quite expect it to happen quite like that. So that's, what, 20 off that over from Harmer with 2 6s and 2 4s. And Tom Price, 23 off 20 balls. And just good, solid hitting. And particularly those 2 4s, in a way more impressive than the couple of 6s, because he's played that potentially against the term, but then very safely, because there was no mid-off. Never mind a long off, there was no mid-off, just somebody kind of floating between extra cover and mid-off, and so really not too much risk involved as far as Tom Price is concerned. Yes, it's against the term, but he's getting towards the pitch of the ball. Porter bowls. Went all leads for a moment then, and he bowls down the leg side. Zappa tries to get a flick on it and misses it, and Rossington will take behind the stumps. Porter. No idea where that one came from. It's probably Harmer mixed with Porter, isn't it?
Century for Rory Burns up there at the Runfest, which is Scarborough, and this bit of news in as well. South Africa have withdrawn from a one-day international series in Australia next year because it conflicts with a new domestic T20 competition.
In comes Porter and bowls to Zappa, who's in behind that one, respectfully sending it back up the pitch. Porter doesn't feel cleanly. It's extraordinary, isn't it? When you, especially as South Africa, this is now about their 3rd or 4th different kind of format for their domestic T20 league. They had the Mzansi Super League that they had going,
which Simon Harmer's team won a few 3 or 4 years ago.
Yes,
4 or 5 years ago, probably now. Actually,
I've forgotten he played for that, the winning team there.
Carl Rocks.
In comes Porter and bowls. That's flicked fine by Zappa. Work to do, I suspect, for the fielder I can't see down below us, and it's 2 fine for the fine leg, and 4 more to Zappa, who moves on to 25, 179 for 7. And that has been a problem, which has been the case throughout this match for bowlers bowling round the wicket from the Hayes close end. We have seen quite a lot of deliveries fired down the leg side, and we've already seen a couple from Jamie Porter this morning, both of which Zappa, well, I say both of which, there was one which he actually missed earlier on in the over, but 2 of which he's put away. He's back on the money this time though, and Zappa, with a bit of a hop, manages to defend that, then rehearses a low pull, which I suspect if you're in the dressing room you're quite glad that he didn't play to that delivery, because it didn't bounce that much. But yes, they had the Mzansi Super League. That was not the success that they were after. Then, I mean, I think COVID probably got in the way as well. Then they went back to having just the usual kind of provincial setup for the T20, and now they're after another franchise T20 league. Porter bowls to Zappa, who tries to jab that one away out into the offside, doesn't get a massive amount of bat on it. He may actually have inside edged that onto his body again. It's a bit difficult to tell from this angle, but there is no run anyway.
See, on that, the ICC now have a decision to make. Do they award the points for the series to Australia, and how does that lead to South Africa's standing in terms of the World Cup as well?
Well, yes, that's another thing. And it is, especially actually when you look at the Ireland-New Zealand series that's going on at the moment. Yes, I know New Zealand aren't full strength. As in comes Porter, and he's there and bowls, and Zappa defends into the covers. He played it straight to Walter and then sets off for a couple of paces down the pitch, and it's a good thing that Tom Price was leaning on his bat and realised that there wasn't going to be a single there. Zappa has already been involved in 1 run out in this game with Graham Van Buren, and of course it should have been Zappa that was out, because as replay showed, his bat was up in the air and Van Buren had made his ground. Anyway, that's the end of that over, 179 for 7. But it is just ever more ridiculous to me that we have the World Cup in the format that we do. When you think last time, the West Indies, I think they won their last match against Scotland by something like 5 runs on Duckworth-Lewis. If they'd lost that one, and then Zimbabwe had won their last one, then the West Indies would have missed the World Cup. Can you imagine that?
Yeah.
And that's rain affecting that. Rain in 2 matches, and the West Indies are out of the World Cup.
Harmer from the river end, and another slog sweep attempt, but he's not got hold of this one. It's gone high in the air, and the catch is taken. And Price goes for 23, trying to repeat what he did in the previous Simon Harmer over when he slog swept 2 sixes, but on this occasion he's got more under it than distance on it, and Matt Critchley, coming off the wide mid-wicket fence, picks up the catch, and Gloucestershire are 179 for 8, leading by 5 runs.
Yeah, and when you've got a fielder out there, well, 2 fielders really on that shot, the risk level goes well up, and so did the ball really, well up in the air, not anything like the distance on it. I suppose that's the thing, if you're going to play that way, eventually you're probably going to perish, and Matt Critchley with a very easy catch, by today's standards anyway.
Yeah, so drinks being taken while Gloucestershire's next man heads to the middle, 179 for 7. Thanks to Sean in Sardinia, the Italian word you were looking for earlier on, gemellagio in Italian.
I think I remembered that.
He says it means twinning. Think of Gemini, he says. Thank you, Sean. Thank you for that. See, that's, every day's a school day. So Matt Taylor is the new man in, made just a single in the first innings before he was bowled by Simon Harmer. So Gloucestershire lead by 5 runs. But they've added 39 this morning, and Tom Price in particular took heavy toll of Simon Harmer, but Harmer in the end has got his revenge. Probably just slightly wider, so Price had to fetch it just that little bit more, and hence came off the lower part of the bat rather than straight out of the middle, and as Ed so eloquently described, one of the easier catches in modern day cricket for Matt Critchley. Look away to the flats on our left hand side. A few of them have got their Juliet balcony doors open, so they can take in whatever breeze they might be blowing and watch a bit of the cricket as well. Harmer in and bowling to Taylor, right-handed. Oh, and Taylor's just let that strike his pad, but there's an appeal, but I think it's pretty clear it was heading down leg side, but brave.
Yes, I think that's probably one word that I would use. That's the kind way of putting it, I think, isn't it?
Especially if the umpire's got an appointment to get to. 179 for 8. Harmer in. Taylor down the wicket, meets that one on the full and drives nicely through extra cover, and that's just going to be accompanied to the boundary, and it goes for 4 runs. Meeting it on the full, coming out of his ground, 183 for 8.
Well, it doesn't look as if Matt Taylor's going to be hanging around too much either. I mean, having said that, of course, he left the first ball, which was well down the leg side and probably could have been helped on its way down to the boundary, so forget that. But he got a full toss, or made it into a full toss, and played a really nice shot, just using the wrists to play it between mid-off and extra cover.
Well, Harmer's getting a little bit of tap this morning, and Taylor this time pushing forward and then playing behind square on the onside, and there's no run again, 183 for 8, so they lead by 9. Harmer, as ever, wearing the shades while bowling. Off with Test duty with South Africa later this summer. Lots of flight, and Taylor pushing out in front of the pad, out to the offside for no run. A few oohs and ahs and a yelp, I think, in there from the close-in fielders.
I can't wait to see what he does in that Test series.
Yeah.
I mean, are they going to play 2 spinners, South Africa? That's the thing. You've got him and Maharaj.
Here's Harmer. In again, Taylor driving nicely all the way along the carpet up to mid-off, and there is no run. Jamie Porter doing the fielding. End of another Simon Harmer over. So I tell you what, I'll leave you, and we'll make Don work for his crust. Don Topley will come in alongside Ed.
That is an intriguing one, though, isn't it? Because you'd think that it's quite unlikely that they would play 2 spinners, and actually, as terrific a bowler as Harmer is, and we'll sing his praises, and I certainly will, all day long, I think I'd be playing Maharaj over Harmer. Maharaj actually out-bowled Harmer in their series against Bangladesh. Plus, I mean, the batting is at least level, if not that being maybe slightly in Maharaj's favour as well. So he could be getting called up to the South African Test side, and then it's, do South Africa want to release him back to Essex if he doesn't make the final 11? Or maybe they do just decide to play 2 spinners. It's going to be an exciting one. Porter then round the wicket to Zafar, and another delivery which is leg side-ish and clipped fine, but in fact not clipped fine, it's off the pad and will be a leg by. And 184 for 8 is the score. Gloucestershire's lead is 10, and good morning, Don Topley.
Morning, Ed, and listen, it's a belated welcome to Chelmsford. You talked about South Africa playing 2 spinners. If we continue with this weather, we'll be looking for another spinner, 3 spinners, won't we? Where are they playing all over the place? Is it 3 or 4 test matches?
Well, I suppose you've got Elgar and Markram who can bowl spin as well. They're not bad spinners, either of them, on their...
Listen, importantly, we
surfaces.
cannot complain about this weather.
No. Porter bowling to Matt Taylor. That one does hint back in towards him. Matt Taylor is able to defend it away into the covers, and they run.
Despite being so horrid in the tube, underground tubes this morning getting here, yeah, it really was humid and sweaty. And
yes, the natural ventilation system in the tube, I'm not sure was really meant quite to cope with 30-degree temperatures. It seems to work fine at other times, but...
I could have easily gone for a shower at Liverpool Street before I got on the train to Chelmsford.
In comes Porter, bowls to Matt Taylor, who defends away leg side, up onto his toes a little to play that one. And no run as it's picked up by Walter at short mid-wicket. So Gloucestershire have at least managed to force Essex to bat again, but 2 wickets down this morning, both the Price brothers, 1 each to Porter and Harmer. There's an enterprising 23 from Tom Price, 20 of those coming in the 1 over from Simon Harmer, but trying to repeat the dose. Caught at long on, and Ollie Price had his off stump removed by Jamie Porter for 43. Porter is in and bowling to Matt Taylor, who flicks this one neatly, and that's a really good bit of fielding at square leg. I think that is Aaron Beard there. It is, yeah,
it is.
And no run. Saved a couple there at least.
Yeah, a few of the Essex fielders have got their sun hats on rather than caps, because your sun hats certainly cover and protect your ears, and that's often an area where cricketers suffer with later in life, their ears, in terms of sunburn and worse.
Here comes Porter. He's in and bowls, and that's turned away to short mid-wicket by Matt Taylor, and there's no run. So rugby players' noses and cricketers' ears, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's right, yeah. So, you know, not being funny, some do get skin cancer on their ears.
Well, yes, it's no laughing matter,
no,
is it?
not at all. And of course, a lot of our cricketers, whether it's domestic county or international, play abroad. Australia, it was Greg Chappell who invented his white sun hat, if you remember, all those years ago.
Well,
you were a young man.
No,
You're
I was
a young man.
Remember is a word which, yes.
Greg Chappell really invented the sun hat.
Porter bowls to Matt Taylor, who push drives back to Jamie Porter, and there is no run. Leg by to start. That was the only run off the over, so it's a maiden for Porter. 184 for 8 the score remains. I mean, I may remember seeing it, but I may not remember actually it happening.
Yeah, quite a lot of the Essex lads have got their white sun hats. It covers the bit of the back of the neck, the ears, your noses, where the traditional cricket cap really just covers the top of your head and a peak. Yeah, it's good to see, because you have to protect yourselves. So Simon Harmer to continue to the left-handed Zafar, and he's going to be facing Harmer from around the wicket. He's got a slip in, so Alistair Cook, who scored yet another 100 in this first innings, the second innings of the game, as Harmer comes in past the umpire. This is a reverse swept, and it's gone for 4. It's gone quite fine. It's gone to third man, where, well, the third man is technically backward point just behind square. So when he's played the reverse sweep, he's collected 4 runs as it's gone towards the floodlights. And the score moves to 184 for 8. Still no Gloucestershire player has got a half century as yet. That will be a personal milestone for one of them. Harmer in again, round the wicket, bowls to Zafar, who drives down the ground beautifully for 4. It bounces just in front of us. We can't quite see because of the river stand balcony, but one of the Essex lads have gone to collect it. It's where the visitors changed this year. It's been changed. Instead of using the pavilion, they're changing beneath us.
I think the umpires are down there. Yes.
Oh, really?
The Gloucestershire players are in that hospitality tent over there, whatever it is. Yeah, and then they...
Without too many refreshments, we might say.
No, indeed, nor with showers within easy reach either.
That's
yes,
right.
It's nice to feel welcome in Chelmsford always, isn't it?
During the T20 campaigns, the visitors use downstairs, because the dressing rooms here at Chelmsford are really quite small, especially the away team dressing room. Harmer bowls, quite full. This time it's yorked, and Zafar digs it out smartly and picks it up kindly for the bowler and returns it to the bowler. No run. 192 for 8. Harmer in again round the wicket, played with soft hands. He looks for a quick single, and his partner Price calls him through, because Price is running to the danger end, and that is 1 run. 192 for 8. So far 33, Price on 4. And it does mean now, in the positive, Gloucestershire are... just going to work this out. They are...
The lead?
Yeah.
They are 19 ahead.
Well, they'll be a little chuffed with that. 3 men round the back for the right-handed batsman. Price gets 4 runs as he gets a thick inside edge which runs into the leg side and runs over this parched outfield to the square leg boundary. That is 4 runs. He was playing a slog sweep but got an under edge or an inside edge that went for 4.
Yes, you say not exactly where Matt Taylor was aiming, but it still manages to make its way to the boundary fairly quickly.
23 runs ahead. Harmer in again, bowls, gives it a bit of air, outside off stump, encouraging a similar shot or to play through the offside against the spin. But this time Price plays an immaculate 4 defensive, very sensible cricket there. And that concludes the Simon Harmer over. We've had 49 overs of this Gloucestershire second innings, and Gloucestershire are 197 for 8.
So come on then, Don, I know you've been raring to weigh in on this Australia-South Africa cancelled series.
It's not good for cricket, I'm afraid. What I can tell you is this South African new domestic T20 competition, whatever they're going to call it, they're trying to entice overseas players with a 3-year contract. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to work out where I've got that information from. So that's what they're trying to do, and it does worry me that we've seen... Look, anybody who knows me knows my feeling. We play too much cricket, international cricket too. And we're playing all these series which have now been log-jammed up because of COVID. And we simply play and fly away. But this was a huge money-making opportunity for Australia. South Africa are not going because of their domestic T20 competition.
Matt Critchley is into the attack, replacing Jamie Porter from the Hayes Close end. Zafar defends respectfully. First ball.
It's terrible for cricket, and in particular international cricket. What are the ICC going to do about it?
Critchley is in and bowls. Reverse sweep comes out. It's been top-edged by Zafar, but well over the head of slip, and with the outfield the way it is, that's going to bound away to the boundary for 4, and that is the 200 up for Gloucestershire for the innings. They lead by 27 runs. Zafar on to 38 with his 6th boundary.
we've got a fair bit of test match cricket coming up, but the white ball cricket coming up this coming winter is unbelievable.
Critchley is in, and Zaffer turns that one on a couple of bounces to Nick Brown at short leg. Brown having already taken a slightly bizarre catch where he trapped the ball between his knees and then just about managed to juggle and hang on to it. As Critchley's into Zaffer, very full delivery. It's jammed down on by Zaffer, and he's got a fair bit of bat on that actually as he sends it down to long on for a single, and that will move Matt Taylor back on strike.
There's rumours that this new South African, well, I can reveal this as well. There's rumours that the South African new domestic competition is going to be backed by some of the IPL owners.
That's the only way, isn't it? Because otherwise, I mean, they've tried, I guess, as Critchley bowls to Matt Taylor, who reaches for that one a little and is beaten by the turn away from his bat. So they've kind of tried going their own way with it, and it didn't work.
And the South African rand is nearly useless.
Yep, I'm afraid so. Critchley is in, and that's edged and has gone down in front of Lawrence at second slip. And actually, as you say, did play it softly enough that it wasn't going to carry, and looks as if it may have... Lawrence is shining it on his collarbone, which is...
I apologise if a few people are not so interested in the... But it's important, this is information that's coming to hand now. But the UAE are now going to be hosting a T20 competition in the winter as well. And the only thing I'd say, Ed, look, I believe there's too much of it, all right? But how can we, in our country, argue with other countries around the world who play their cricket in the winter, our winter? Who are we to say to them, no, you can't have it, you can't profile your T20 and have the world's best playing in it? You know, who are we to say that? So we have to understand that. But the UAE, who are going to be backed by IPL investors, are going to have a massive event in January, February, as Harmer starts a new over. Bowls quite straight around the wicket to Zophar, and he plays off the back foot back to the bowler. There is no run.
There'll be Major League Cricket soon as well in the USA.
And we congratulate the USA for getting the opportunity to host the 2024 T20 World Cup. This time again off the back foot. Zophar plays with an open face into the offside. They do not take a run. There is a man back on the boundary on the offside in case Zophar wants to play the reverse sweep again. But he basically turns down a single there as he continues to face Simon Harmer. Round the wicket again. Pass umpire Paul Pollard bowls. This is dragging him forward this time. Good ball by Harmer on a length, drags him forward, plays with soft hand, no run.
Intriguing to see Zaffer turn down the single there. I think he rather fancies having a go at Harmer at some point. Not yet, but he's waiting for his delivery.
Here it comes, given a bit more air. There's a bit of a turn, possibly an edge, but it dies as it goes along the floor to Alistair Cook at first slip. Well bowled. See, it's noticeable that he gave it a lot more air, hence there was just a little bit more purchase as the ball pitched.
And he didn't bowl it so full that Zaffer could get underneath it, the old slot length.
Quicker, lapped, gone down to deep fine leg behind square towards the retirement flats where there is a single. They take and just wander through for the single as the right hand left hand combination changes over, and it brings Tom Price to face Simon Harmer, who probably has already he's going to stay around the wicket. Interestingly, he hasn't bowled, I think, too much to Price around the wicket. So will he look to kick? There's a slip and a back pad in. Nick Brown under the lid, one strip away on the leg side, and no, there's a helmeted leg slip as it's Dan Lawrence who's been brought in from square leg. Three men round the back, bat around the wicket. Harmer comes in, bowls outside off stump, it turns, and it's very well played by Price into the offside, no run. Matt Taylor, sorry, Matt Taylor, yes. Gosh, that was a wicket that fell, and that's the end of the over. 203 for 8. Which now brings the lead to
29.
Very good. Good to see that.
Yeah, well, I suppose it's one thing just to limp past it, but if they can even set Essex something. I mean, we're only talking if they could just limp up to 3 figures, maybe. I mean, that's going to take some effort from here, but.
Well,
still.
the first thing is to make Essex bat again. Listen, that's good. That's good. That's a bit of pride.
And from the position that they were in this morning, that was
bit of
certainly
pride.
the first thing. And for the most part, they played Harmer.
I'm going
very
to
well so
ask
far.
you during your over here now.
Here's Critchley bowling to Zafar, reverse hit really. That's really well played because there's nobody between deep backward point and mid off, and a reverse hit through cover for 4. Beautifully played by Zafar, and against the turn as well, and from outside leg stump he's fetched that. 207 for 8. Well, leg stump sort of became off stump, I suppose.
I chuckled there only because he got into position so damn early to play the reverse sweep, and he did it. He executed it so well. I bet he's a decent hockey player.
Down the pitch comes Zafar, goes for a heave into the leg side. It's just going to clear deep mid wicket for 6, and that is 50 for Zafar Gohar. And it's come off just 53 deliveries with 7 fours and a 6, and a Gloucestershire batter will reach 50. It's the 3rd half century of the season for Zafar.
Good for him. Listen, I reckon that was a pretty good set of applause, that actually, from the home fans too.
Critchley bowls to Zafar, who turns that one away into the leg side. They might have pinched a single if Zafar really wanted it, but he didn't, and Harmer does the fielding, so no run.
Have you seen many Gloucestershire fans here this few days?
I haven't seen too many, no, I have to say, as Critchley bowls to Zafar, slog sweep, it's in the air, but it'll be 2 bounces out to Shane Snater on the deep backward square leg boundary, and this time, with it being the 4th ball of the over, they do decide to take the single. 214 for 8. Gloucestershire, the lead is 40. No, I haven't seen that many, I have to say. I don't know whether, with positions in the table being different, whether there would be a few more as Matt Taylor reaches forward and looks to drive, but skews it a little up towards mid-on, and there is no run. But yeah, it's generally thought of as not the easiest place to get to, but I have to say from Bristol, as Critchley bowls to Matt Taylor, looks to cut, goes straight to Brown at backward point, just going in and out of London by train anyway. It's a doddle, I think. It's not that far from London at all. The trains are very frequent, and it's actually not the most difficult place to get to. It's the station's very close to the ground, but yeah, I haven't.
Well, I did the reverse journey for the rained-off game in the T20.
Of course, the obligatory one,
yes.
The annual event. Whether it's here or Bristol, it's going to happen.
It happens. It does, doesn't it? Hey, it does. So we're going to see the continuation of Harmer, who had 5 of the 6 wickets this morning, didn't he, overnight? And, you know, he's bowled so beautifully just lately. Going to be joining up with his South African colleagues soon for the Test Tour. This time it's a reverse sweep by Gohar. Gohar looks to come back for the second. It's well fielded down at, I have to say, on the boundary at 3rd man where he's played the reverse sweep. Well fielded there by Jamie Porter, I think it is. But 2 more runs to the left-handed batsman, who moves to 53, I think it is now. Scoreboard's a bit slow today as Harmer comes in, bowls, gives himself a bit of room. It's a slower ball. It's been cut out to the pavilion boundary for 4 runs. Good looking shot. He saw it was a bit slower, a little shorter, and he's beautifully cut it into the offside.
Yeah, I mean, exposed all 3 stumps, but at the same time, like you say, because it was so slow, he had so much time to line it up and just had to make sure that he beat Snater at extra cover.
Harmer again. Will it be a bit quicker? Yes, it is. He does come forward, but he comes forward quite late. It's well bowled. Very different delivery to the previous one, and he does the fielding on his follow-through, does Simon Harmer, and there is no run.
And Harmer has conceded over 100 runs, but if it comes at the cost of 6 wickets, then yeah.
a little slower, given a little bit of air, and he's played it off the back foot sensibly, and he collects a single into the offside, and everybody changes because there's the right hand of Taylor, the left hand of Goffar, and there it's Harmer to continue, but this time, interestingly, he stayed over the wicket last over, but he's gone back over the wicket. I think he's trying to, well, for me, like a typical off spinner, he's trying to bowl off stump outside, trying to get the batsman to play against the spin, try and drive in the offside. Over the wicket he comes, bowls, gives it a bit of air, ideal ball, but a beautifully executed forward defensive, and there is no run.
Yeah, I guess he's hoping that he might go for that drive through sort of mid-off extra cover again, get the outside edge into play potentially.
Harmer in again, bit quicker, driven down the ground, where they turn down the single because Goffar's happy to face Critchley, and they've turned down the single, 221 for 8, but it's look, they're playing nicely, these two actually. Partnership now is worth 32. Is it?
I think it's 42.
42,
yes.
sorry, I'll take my shoes
I
and
think
socks
so.
off next time. 42. So it's been productive.
Yeah.
And they haven't really taken too many risks.
No, they've just taken good options, haven't they? Zaffar's,
They have.
when he has hit the ball in the air, he's hit it straight down the ground in general. And, well, I guess the risky shot was the 6 that he brought the 50 up with, because that was only just over the head of deep mid-wicket, but it is a short boundary, and at some point you've got to transfer some pressure back to the bowler. I think it was worth the risk.
You raised it with me earlier, but what's your thoughts reference you know, what the ICC are going to do reference Australia and South Africa?
Critchley bowls, down the pitch comes Zafar, and he's got a lot of this.
Yeah.
That's a majestic 6 over mid-wicket, and that has probably gone towards the car park.
That's 12.
Yeah, it's an enormous strike from Zafar. He's on to 64, 227 for 8. Gloucestershire's lead is above 50 now at 53.
That's a great shot, and it was a great flourish and a follow-through. He really did give that the kitchen sink, but he didn't lose his shape.
It made a fearful tonking sound off the bat. I mean, I must admit I lost exactly where the ball had landed, but then I'm not sure whether anybody knows exactly where it's gone. Actually, no, it looks as if we have got it back, as if we will get the
It's got a bit of
original one
tarmac
back.
in it. A little bit of tarmac, maybe.
Don't show it. Don't show
Aluminium.
that part to the umpire. As Critchley bowls to Zafar, it goes back and just pushes the ball in towards the backward point region. They could have got a single again there, but they've already set their stall out that they're not going to do that early on in the over. There's a deep point, there's a deep mid-wicket, there's a long on as Critchley bowls to Zafar, and a nicely flighted delivery on middle and off is defended away into the leg side. In terms of the kind of the sanctions, I mean there has to be some, doesn't there? You can't just let that fly, as that's a short ball from Critchley, pulled away in the air out towards deep mid-wicket. Dive on the boundary, or a leap rather, is in vain. It cannons off the advertising boards behind Paul Walter, and if Paul Walter can't reach it, nobody's reaching it. It's 6 more to Zafar, and that is the 50 partnership up between Zafar and Matt Taylor. Zafar's contributed 45 and Matt Taylor 8, as Critchley's already in and bowling again, full, and turned away to Brown at short leg, no run.
It was marginally short. We have to admit that it was a bit desperately disappointing day up at Old Trafford the other day. Critchley didn't get it quite right following his injury.
Critchley is in, sweep comes out this time from Zafar, he sends it away behind square on the leg side. Snater from deep square will do the fielding, and that means that Zafar will keep the strike. 234 for 8. Zafar has 71. The lead is 54.
I think we're going to have some drinks. I think we are, by the looks of it. The umpires have got together, the Essex players have got together, the 2 batsmen were looking around, and coming are the drinks. 12th man racing on with their bottles, etc., etc. Yeah, well, you're listening to BBC Essex, BBC Bristol here, where Ed Seaborn, Glenn Speller and myself are bringing you the live action. You're not missing anything because it's just now the drinks break here at, well, dead on noon, 12 o'clock on day 3 of the fixture between Essex and Gloucestershire. Essex dominating the first 2 days, and listen, they've had an okay morning, but credit where credit is due to Gloucestershire, where they resumed this morning on 140 for 6, and they've lost the 2 wickets this morning. That of Ollie Price, who was bowled by Jamie Porter for 43. The score then was 146 for 7, and then in due course Tom Price, brother, who did attack Simon Harmer a little bit this morning. He scored 2 sixes in an over together with an offside boundary as well. He was eventually caught by Critchley, bowled by Harmer for 23 to give Simon Harmer his 6th wicket in this second innings, to add to his 5 to give him a total of 11 wickets so far. And the score then was 179 for 8. So a good morning to Glenn Speller as Simon Harmer comes in. He bowls outside off stump. It's slightly cut all the way out to deep third man where there is a fielder. Jamie Porter throws it back, but they do not take a run. Good morning, Glenn.
Morning. Martin on the email says Simon Harmer's normally excellent bowling has been expensive. Well, it was on that morning against Hampshire, remember, as well. He's just trying to buy a few wickets here.
Round the wicket to the left-hander, a little bit quicker, and it's respected by Gofar coming forward and plays with the full face of the bat and returns it to the bowler.
There's also the question as well, as Ed was saying, at the start of play, they don't just want to sit there and let Simon Harmer bowl at them.
Harmer round the wicket, bowls a little bit leg stumpish. They could get a single, but they turn it down as the 3 boundary fielders on the leg side are deep square leg, deep mid wicket and long on. There is a short man, a short fine leg at 45, but really the boundary fielders are way back and they could have an easy single. This time it's plays with the turn, does turn a fraction into the offside, and there is no run.
Surrey going on, 236 for 1, replying to Yorkshire's 521 all out. Chance to boost your average up there.
Harmer in again, gives it a lot of air. Anticipates it's going to be played into the leg side. He goes into the offside, does Harmer, tries to field, but alas, it misses him. And they do take the single this time as it's played up to long on for 1 run. 234 for 8.
Lancashire 223 for 1, so exactly halfway to Somerset's first innings. The man out, Luke Wells, who went for just past the 3 figures that he got to this morning.
Interesting cricket, those 2 last games that you've just mentioned at Southport and Scarborough, 2 festival grounds. Harmer in again, over the wicket to the right-handed Taylor, who respects it, plays it back to the bowler, and that it concludes the end of the over, 235 for 8. The reason I mention those 2 games, you've got Surrey are ahead in the league, along with Lancashire. So what do those 2 teams do? Do they declare behind? If I was Surrey, I would declare behind, because you hope that the festival, look, there's no point just carrying on and just enjoying a draw, and Lancashire need to win as well. So from Lancashire's aspects, do they declare behind and try and force a victory, or take the chance to bowl the opposition out? Remember, 4-day cricket, you only have to bowl the opposition out cheaply once. So for both Lancashire and Surrey, I would opt to declare behind.
Kent lead Northamptonshire by 26 runs. They're 329 for 8 in their first innings. Warwickshire 35 for 1 second time around, trailing Hampshire by 118 runs. Aaron Beard's going to have a go from the Hayes close end. He's in and bowling now. No slips in. That's driven nicely to extra cover by Zafar, but there's no run. 72 from 70 deliveries so far for he. 235 for 8 is the Gloucestershire score. They lead by 61.
And they were 34 runs behind overnight, weren't they?
Hearing from Simon Harmer on BBC Essex Breakfast this morning, says it is a tricky pitch to score on, so he wouldn't want them getting too far ahead, he said. But I guess when you see how the tail have done for Gloucestershire, you've got to be confident that the Essex top order can get this job done when they're asked to do so. Beard turns, sprinting in towards us, into Zafar, who batters that one over long on, and one bounce, 4 runs. He goes to 76 and the score to 239 for 8.
Well, that's really well hit. I think he was initially going straighter, but he's dragged it to the leg side with his big bottom hand there as Goffar, and you could see Jamie Porter running towards the ball, but it was always avoiding him. Interestingly, Aaron Beard for me, no disrespect to him at all, but he hasn't been used much. He's only bowled probably, this is his 10th over in the game, the entire game.
It was in his arc, wasn't it? And Beard is in again. That is in the air, the onside, and it's bounced and gone for 4 runs. There was a shout of catch, but no one down there at deep backward square, and 243 for 8 goes the score, lead by 69.
Yeah, good connection there, played in the air, but it's avoided any Essex fielder, so sensible short shot to that short boundary.
It's only 20 short of a century now, Zafar. He's played very, very well.
Some great shots. He's looked comfortable, both these two partnerships increasing now. Gosh.
Apart from the one Porter got that nipped back, the ball hasn't done very much. Beard in again. And again, Zafar gives it everything. Only pick up the single this time as the man comes off the mid-wicket fence to collect, and they come through for the single. 244 for 8. He goes to 81, brings Matt Taylor back down onto strike.
Harmer fielded that on the boundary. He's thrown it like a rocket at the stumps, targeting the stumps. The bowler's left it, and it's been backed up by Paul Walter, all right, who has taken a bit of pain because it bounced awkwardly and ended him hitting him in the solar plexus, and you could see him rubbing it a little while. Poor fella.
Hashim Amla is now out. He's gone for 79. But that looked like, for all the money, that one's heading for a draw. Here we're going to get a result. Beard, right arm over, into Taylor. Taylor drives nicely up to mid-off. They won't take the single though. There is one more ball of this Aaron Beard over.
You said it just now in your commentary. Just now you said this wicket hasn't done too much this morning. We're in the 57th over on day 3, and Ed's been here consistently over the 3 days. We've arrived today, Glenn, and I have to say I think you're absolutely right. This wicket, okay, it's 7 overs old now, the ball, but it does look quite nice to bat on.
Here's Beard into Taylor. They've put a slip in now. It's Sir Alistair Cook, but he just goes and fetches the helmet from behind Alan Rossington after that ball as it's pushed into the onside for no run. Nick Brown doing the fielding. End of another over. BBC Essex, BBC Bristol with you at Chelmsford, and Gloucestershire are 244 for 8. They lead Essex by 70 runs, so they have added this morning 104 for the loss of 2 wickets.
That's a good pace, actually. It's a good pace. Probably that tells you a little bit about the wicket, maybe. Probably. Because there were a lot of noises. You know, there's always noise when Harmer gets wickets. But elsewhere around the country, you know, inquisitive questions and whatever. But I have to say, this wicket, since I've been here this morning, I wouldn't mind a little bat. Looks quite quiet. Hasn't turned massively. Only when Simon Harmer gives it a bit of air, which he's about to start a new over, and he gives it a bit of air, and he's been stumped. Goffar has to go. Rossington has got his man. Harmer's got his 13th wicket of the game.
Yeah, just picking that one up. Harmer's held that one back, and it's gripped, spun past the outside edge of Gohar's bat, and well, Adam Rossington doesn't make a mess of the stumps, just flicks the bails off, and that was all it needed. And Gohar tosses the bat in the air as he makes his way off, and because he realises he's given that away, really. It seemed okay. He got some really good rewards. There's a nice hand for him as he makes his way off the field. Free entry today for those who aren't members, so they've got a bit of entertainment out of it. It could have been all over, let's face it, in the space of half an hour, but he's managed to stretch this game out and taken his side to a 70-run lead. Good hand played by him, but he's gone for 81. And I think we saw it with the Hampshire lower order in the last home game here as well, Don. They got into that mindset of attack, attack, attack. And when the ball actually wasn't doing that much, he's gone to attack just on one too many occasions there and has been stumped well out of his ground.
Yeah, he really did come down a long way, and it was given a bit of air. It did offer, it just went past the outside edge, and as you suggested Rossington had plenty of time just to not whip the bails off, tickle them off.
I always think that looks nice and neat and tidy, rather than demolishing everything. Just nice and tidy. It makes it look like you're nice and calm and you've got plenty of time, doesn't it?
It does.
Some wicketkeepers do like to make a mess of everything.
They do.
Give the square leg umpire a bit of exercise to come in and reset everything, but all he had to do there was pick the bails up and put them back on top. He managed Josh Shaw.
Harmer with his 13th wicket. We'll come to his figures at the moment, his innings figures and his match figures so far. Still 1 wicket remaining. 3 men round the bat. Harmer round over the wicket. This has driven it into the leg side with the spin. And I didn't even introduce the batsman who's come out. That is...
That's all right, I did that.
Did you? Very good. Very good. Thank you.
You mean you weren't listening? You mean you weren't hanging on every single word, Don?
Josh Shaw.
Yeah.
Formerly, I'm going to look at Ed. Where is he? Ed, is he signed or is he still on loan from Yorkshire?
He's signed.
Signed now. Harmer, this time to Taylor. Taylor's whipped it, he slog swept it, it's in the air, and Snater has dropped him. It's a dolly in front of the marquee by the player's entrance. I have to say that is a dolly. Harmer will be slightly unimpressed.
Slightly.
He's got himself a single. This time Shaw plays into the leg side with the spin. Sensible cricket. Good delivery, well batted, no run.
Look, he's had to make ground around to his left-hand side, but probably 10 yards, and it's the same height as the catch that Matt Critchley took previously.
Harmer, this time outside off stump. He's gone through, hoping to... Well, he's got 4. He wasn't... It's gone for 6, actually. He was hoping to make a good connection, but certainly it wasn't meant to go there. But that's 6 more runs to the Yorkshireman, Josh Shaw, who moves on to 7. The score now is 252. Little applause there for the 250. Harmer again, bowls over the wicket, a lot of air there. It's gone in the air. Can Snater get it this time? Snater gets a superb diving catch. He picks it up around his laces height, diving forward. Super duper catch that, and he'll certainly please his captain, who does collect his 14th wicket, as Gloucestershire have now been finally bowled out at 10 past 12, and the score, Gloucestershire 252, all out.
I only take difficult catches, says Shane Snater. I'm not interested in the dollies, because he's had to make ground forward off the mid-wicket fence and then dive forward as well and take it just above the turf. So the drop in the end has cost what? It's cost 7 runs, hasn't it? And Essex will hope that's not key. They will require Essex 79 for victory at the end of all of that, and Simon Harmer picking up his 8th wicket of the Gloucestershire second innings, having taken 5 in the first, 5 for 44 in the first innings, and he finishes up with 8 for 106, I think that is. 112 in the end it is actually. So quick bit of maths tells me that that is 13 for 156 he takes in the game.
Fantastic.
If
well
it's right.
Sir. How many overs has he bowled? Let me just look again. He's bowled in this innings 26.5 and he bowled 15, so we're looking at 41 overs, 42 overs nearly. Maidens was 11, 42 overs, 11 maidens, and we reckon he's made 13 wickets for 156. Brilliant.
15
effort.
for 207 in the last game here. So tell you what, we'll take a little break and do rejoin us for the Essex run chase. They will require 79. We're at what, 12:15, so 6 or 7 minutes away from the resumption here. Do rejoin us then.
27 overs, 7 maidens, 112 runs, 8 wickets. Aaron Beard, 5 overs, no maiden, 35 runs, no wicket. Matt Critchley, 10 overs, 1 maiden, 65 runs, 1 maiden, 65, 1 extra, a leg bye. For the match for Simon, of course, who added to his 44th with 5 in the first innings, with 112 for 8, giving him 156 for 13.
Welcome back to Chelmsford. Glenn Speller, Don Topley and Ed Seaborn with you. More cloud covers moved in just to take the direct sunshine away a little bit. Still very, very hot. So Essex requiring 79 for victory here. Nick Brown and Sir Alistair Cook opening up as ever for Essex and Gloucestershire on the hunt for wickets. They've been given an opportunity by their lower order this morning. 112 runs they added for the loss of the final 4 wickets today. Nick Brown to take the first ball of this Essex run chase then, and he's allowing the first ball to go through. Higgins is the man opening from the Hayes close end, all very gentle across the left-hander and through to the wicketkeeper, and Essex 0 for 0, and Don Topley 79 required.
Hello Glenn, yes, Higgins, decent cricketer, you know, formerly of Middlesex, and heralds from Zimbabwe. Decent cricketer indeed.
He's in now, bowling to Nick Brown, who failed in the first innings, and Brown just plays defensively from the crease and leaves his ground and is sent swiftly back by Sir Alistair Cook at the non-striker's end.
Not that I'm a dedicated follower of fashion, but there seems to be some interesting hairstyles amongst county cricketers and international cricketers, and I have to say that Higgins is you'd probably look at it quite inquisitively. Eh? Did you have anything like that when you were younger?
Blimey. As Ryan Higgins is in and Brown lets that one go through again, and there's no run. Can't say I did. And no ball as well is signalled.
I think he's got a band, not an Alice band, but something around keeping, which forces his hair upwards.
Yep. Well, I think that the mullet seems to be making a comeback
Yes,
these days as well.
Now, I tried a bit of a 1980s mullet back in the day. Oh, yes.
So Essex are off the mark then with that no ball. Higgins is in and bowling to Brown, and that's allowed to go by for no run. Although the no ball hasn't been put up, but there was definitely an arm outstretched at the Hayes close end. Yep, no, I'm mistaken, but there was definitely an arm out, but not a no ball, it would appear. Yes, what's the saying for the mullet? Business at the front, party at the back. That's what they say.
Is that right?
Yep.
I haven't heard that.
Yeah. Here's Higgins into Brown once again. Oh, and Brown's trying to push that one into mid-wicket. Catches a leading edge and ends up being fielded by the man at point. So gets slightly away with that one, does Brown. And Essex yet to get off the mark. 1 ball to go in this Ryan Higgins opening over. Yeah, I heard that a couple of years ago. Yes, it's
right.
Business at the front, party at the back.
Right, no. Interesting. Never heard that one. Higgins, he of sort of medium pace, hits the seam, possibly swings it on his day.
He's in again, bowling to Brown, and Brown this time off his hip can play that one out to mid-wicket, and it'll go for 4 because Gloucestershire can't have men stationed out on the boundaries. It's gone for 4, and it was just a flick by Nick Brown, and Essex are up and running. First over down, they're 4 without loss. 79 is the target here on BBC Essex and BBC Bristol.
I do believe he's bowling the right line. He's trying to bowl quite straight, wicket to wicket, trying to get him bowled or indeed LBW, and if he nicks off from playing a straight one. But you know, as you highlighted, they've got to attack with a few fielders. They had 2 slips and a gully, or was it three slips actually? But Higgins is of medium pace. He's not too penetrating, but he is a very solid, dependable county cricketer. And we're going to see the gentleman, or the Gloucestershire gentleman, that was the only batsman to score a half century, and he played beautifully this morning. Gohar, who's well, he made 81 this morning. He's going to open the bowling. He's going to take the new ball. Is the left arm spinner, and the score is Essex of 4 without loss. We've got 3 men round the bat. Here he comes, left arm over the wicket, bowls into the rough, but it's a bit short, and Alistair Cook just swivels and sort of pulls it into the leg side, and it goes out behind square to the longest part of the boundary here at the Cloud County Ground, and he collects 4 more runs for Sir Alistair Cook. Just a little short and a little too straight by the left arm finger spinner.
Yeah, there's a little bit of rough for him to aim at, but the key word I think there was it was too straight, therefore missing those patches of rough. But albeit the patches of rough are quite wide of Alistair Cook's off stump as well.
Cook, bat down, bat raised, he comes forward, goes back, plays it behind square, takes a single to the short fine leg on the 45 for 1 run. Essex move to 9 without loss, and they require a further 70 runs to notch up yet another championship win.
And another championship win here at Chelmsford. Well, Fortress Chelmsford, it's been named in the T20 Blast in the shortest format, but you can read that for the championship these days as well.
3 men round the back. He bowls. This one turns. They look for a single, but Brown turns it down, having entertained it from the non-striker's end. But that ball did turn, probably because it's a newish ball, hard ball, and it gripped off this surface from a straight delivery. And he comes again. He bowls, and again a little bit quicker. Played off the back foot by Cook, played into the leg side with the spin, goes to mid-wicket. There is no run.
Well, he wasn't in a hurry in the first innings, Alistair Cook, and he won't be rushed here as well, even though it's a relatively small target that Essex are aiming at.
And he comes again. This one turns. There's an LBW shout. They're interested. The 3 men round the bat are interested, but Sir Alistair Cook survives that appeal as Paul Pollard does not entertain the LBW.
Yeah, striking him outside the line, but looked too high as well because he was right back on his stumps there, Cook. But finding that turn.
Well, the spinner here has got quite a low arm, and he certainly did get some spin and purchase that delivery. This time it's given a bit more air. Cook does come forward quite late, and it doesn't quite bounce as much with that new ball, and that was a testing over from Gohar, and that's a decent over there, 9 without loss.
Yeah, a little bit quicker as well, that from Gohar, and it didn't get up, and Cook ends up almost sort of crouching just to sort of magnify the fact that he's had to drop the bat right down on that. There'll be a bit of noise from the Gloucestershire fielders as well. They'll want to sort of ramp up the pressure, say, come on guys, you know, the pitch is doing all sorts, you know, the spinner's turning it a mile, it's spitting, it's bouncing, but Essex, 2 experienced campaigners at the wicket at the moment, seen it all and heard it all before, I'm sure. Brown it was, by the way, dropping the bat on that last ball. Higgins to continue then from the Hayes close end, in and bowling now, and Cook just plays defensively out to the offside for no run. 9 without loss is the score. Let's say Brown playing the LBW shout. Brown was right back on his stumps there, but it bounced quite prodigiously.
We're seeing for Cook, the 3rd slip has gone out to the mid-wicket, short mid-wicket, catching.
Century for Keaton Jennings for Lancashire now, up at Southport, as Higgins is into Cook. Oh, and Cook uppishly driving, but bouncing well in front of mid-off, and there's no run. It's Simon Harmer in his after-play interview with BBC Essex last night, so you know, it's not the easiest of pitches to score runs on. And he said we wouldn't want them getting too far ahead, but this morning Gloucestershire's approach has been, we're not going to be bowled at, we're not just going to sit here and roll over and head down the M4, we're going to put bat to ball, and they've done just that. Higgins is in and bowling to Cook, who just opens the face of the bat, pushes into the offside for no run again. Now there is a no ball this time. That's the exact same signal as the umpire gave previously. I'm not 100% sure that there wasn't a no ball in Higgins' first over, but the score goes up to 11 without loss.
Sure, the umpires will look at that maybe at lunch. Good half an hour left yet. It would be interesting to see what kind of score Essex rattle up before lunch.
Higgins into Cook, those 2 slips, but that's angled on middle and leg, and Cook works that one away behind square, and you can give up the chase, Zafar Gohar, because that's raced just from a nudge by Cook across the parched outfield and goes for 4 runs, and Essex go to 15 without loss. They need another 64 for victory.
Lovely shot there. You know, there won't be too many youngsters watching it just at the moment, but that was a super shot. Just the way he waited, and just caressed it square of the wicket on the leg side. Super shot. Gosh, I wish I could play shots like that.
No great histrionics. Minimum back lift. Higgins is into Cook once again, met solidly with the full face of the bat, which we've seen for so many years, both for Essex and for England, and he just walks away towards square leg. Still has the thirst for runs, Alistair Cook. Still loves playing his cricket. Mentioned before earlier on this season, so many England captains pack in the captaincy and then pack in cricket completely. Cook just wanted to keep going. Higgins into him now once again. Ooh, and that just gets trapped between bat and pad as he's on the walk there, but it dribbles up the pitch and there's no run. 15 without loss. 12:33 is the time here at a swelteringly hot Chelmsford. Sat slightly back in the commentary box here, so we're not getting the full effects of the sunshine. We did get some rain last night. Did you have rain?
Not in London, but I'm led to believe there was rain on the Suffolk-Essex borders.
Higgins into Cook. Oh, he's bowled him! Off stump, out of the ground. Cook playing down the wrong line there, and the first wicket goes down, and Essex are 15 for 1.
Yeah, good delivery, nice and straight. And he sort of played down the wrong line. Might have just offered a fraction, but might have just, with the dried pitch and just the hardened ball, it might have just straightened against Sir Alistair Cook. Good delivery, but Higgins will be dead chuffed to have got the Centurion from the first innings out. 15 for 1. We're not going to suggest we're going to see a huge upset here, but would nonetheless, Gloucestershire have made Essex work hard, and you highlighted they could have turned up this morning and it could have rolled over, but they didn't. They amassed actually in quite good time. They added 112 from their overnight score of 140 for 6. Yes, they lost the 4 wickets. Harmer finished up with match figures of 13 for 156, but what was quite pleasing was that Gloucestershire made Essex work hard. A couple of their batsmen got stuck in and batted nicely. Price made 43, his other brother 23, and then Gohar made a very entertaining 81 in their grand total, but what with 112 added, 79 to win, Essex are 15 now for 1.
Ball didn't do anything. He's bowling right arm around and it's just gone on with the arm, and Cook's just played down the wrong line. So Zafar's back on from the river end, and the decibel level might go up a bit as well.
Left arm over the wicket to the left-handed Nick Brown. Brown plays off the back foot. It's whipped with the spin into the leg side and well fielded at a diving mid-wicket, and there is no run. So Tom Wesley, who played nicely for 90 odd in the first innings, has joined Nick Brown. Gohar bowls. This turns. There's an LBW shout. I believe that's done too much. Great appeal from everyone, to be honest. And there was also a cheeky attempt at a run out, but Brown was played back and hadn't moved out of his crease.
Tell you what,
go on, talk to me.
He's right back on his stumps. It's hit the inside of his right pad.
It turned a lot. Gohar again bowls. This time Brown comes forward, plays with a spin into the leg side. It goes into a gap all the way out across the netting area to the deep square leg, where there is 1 run. 16 for 1, and it brings Tom Wesley on to strike for his first ball.
I tell you, we're not umpires, but
you like that? You'd have gone up, would you?
I look at that inside of the right pad. He's right back on his stumps. That's probably not missing leg stump by much. It did turn a lot, but from a long way outside of off stump. But given not out, and he was not for moving, the umpire.
Slightly round arm. Gohar comes round the wicket to the right-handed Wesley. Oof. That turns and bounces, spits almost, but it's gone from a foothole wide of off stump. So no worries for Essex. Well left, Tom Wesley. Well bowled. Gohar in again, bowls a bit straighter. Watchful Tom Wesley comes forward, smothers the spin, and it goes into the offside with the spin for no run.
Just the loss of that early wicket has just concentrated the minds, I think, of people around the ground.
Gohar gives it a bit of air, a bit fuller. This time Wesley comes further forward, smothers the spin back to the bowler to conclude an excellent second over here from the left arm finger spinner. And Essex have in search of what is it?
79.
79 are 16 for 1.
Quick look at the scores elsewhere then. Warwickshire 63 for 1 in their second innings, still trailing Hampshire by 90. Northamptonshire started their second innings against Kent, 9 without loss, 23 runs still behind there. Kent, a narrow first innings lead of 32. Lancashire go on, 247 for 1 against Somerset, 199 behind at Southport. And Surrey 269 for 3 now, trailing Yorkshire by 252 runs. Smith has just gone off the bowling of Don Bess for 11. Ryan Higgins is back on, in and bowling to the left-handed Nick Brown, who plays defensively out to the offside for no run.
Well bowled, possibly just held its line in terms of hitting the seam. And Brown does a bit of guarding where that ball pitched. It's probably this new ball. Again, you've always got to get over the new ball, but it's probably just gripping on this dry surface here on day 3 at Chelmsford.
Higgins in again to Nick Brown, and Brown playing defensively from the crease, back up the pitch for no run. Rory Burns is 125 not out. For Surrey, Division 2, Derbyshire 77 for 4, second dig, leading Durham by 64. It's a bit of a recovery, though, 3 down in no time there, Derbyshire, who had a bit of a chastening experience in the final quarter-final in the T20 blast against Somerset at the weekend. Glamorgan are making hay against Nottinghamshire in Cardiff. They lead by 189 runs, 156 without loss in their second innings. Here's Higgins into Brown, and Brown forcing up to mid-off and sets off for the single really quickly, slides his bat in, throw comes in, would have been home anyway. And Worcestershire have been set 238 for victory against Middlesex. They are 32 without loss. And meantime, in the run fest, Sussex 588 for 9, and Leicestershire in reply 231 for 2. The former Essex man Rishi Patel 87 not out.
Well done to him. Well done to the Louis Kimber, brother of Nick Kimber. Nick Kimber, formerly, as we were talking with Ed Seaborn, formerly of Lincolnshire and at Trent Bridge as well.
Higgins into Wesley, plays awkwardly, defensively out to the offside for no run, but there will be 2 runs added as there's a no ball from over the wicket this time for Ryan Higgins. ICC Men's Cricket World Cup League 2 ongoing, incidentally, where Scotland are playing Nepal, and Scotland are 47 for 6 against Nepal. There's some interesting scores going on out there as well. It's all been played out in Zimbabwe. Yes. Higgins into Wesley, plays defensively from the crease, and there is no run. Jersey involved out there.
Did Jersey beat USA, or was it the other way around? I was thinking the best part of quite a few million against 132,000 in Jersey. They play, you know, the might of the United States of America playing Jersey.
Well, I was out in Jersey a few years ago when they were playing a World League out there, as Higgins comes into the right-handed Tom Wesley, who flicks that one away in front of square. And square leg has to come across to fill the void where there was no mid-wicket, and they come back for a couple of runs. Score goes to 21 for 1 for Essex. They require a further 58 for victory, and this is a few years ago, and Jersey were doing quite well actually. They were playing Afghanistan, and we were walking out in town in St Helier, which is the capital of Jersey, and met the Afghan team. We were doing a little bit of shopping. That's Higgins into Wesley, who lets that one go as it just moves away outside off stump, and that is the end of the over. What are we at now? At 22-1 on a Wednesday lunchtime, and Essex require 58 more runs for victory. They are 21 for 1. Seeing if Ed wants to come in and replace Don, which he does. So just don't unplug me, Don. That's right, well done. Excellent. Anything could happen in the next 30 seconds. BBC Essex Cricket at gmail.com if you want to get in touch with us, at BBC Essex Sport, BBC Essex and BBC Bristol with you here at the Chelmsford County Ground. And Zafar Gohar is going to continue from this river end. He has caused a few problems for the Essex batters, and more so with that big LBW shout against Nick Brown in his last over. Don negotiates cables, chairs. There's Zafar in and bowling to Brown, just pushes defensively out to the onside, and there is no run. Free entry given to those who are not members today. A few people have taken up that offer. Getting a little bit of cricket, and Zafar is in, giving that plenty of air outside off stump, strikes the front pad of Brown, but he got a huge stride in, and there's no run once again. 21 for 1. Zafar examines the ball, spins himself a catch from hand to hand, and back he goes to his very short approach. Low flying plane makes its way across. A bit more cloud cover than we've had over the last couple of days. Bit of blue sky dotted about as well. Stoppage in play while they move the field around. I want to bring another close fielder in here. Do Gloucestershire, who, Ed, just gave themselves a little bit of a sniff with that wicket of Alistair Cook.
They did, and I think I'm with you. I think they can count themselves perhaps a tad unfortunate that Essex aren't too down, having had a chance to look at that again. I know it's turning a lot, which is what will be in the umpire's mind, but for me, Brown was so far back that the ball didn't have very far to go.
Man in at silly mid-off now, and Brown, to try to negate that, comes shuffling down the pitch. It rolls up his front pad, loops up in the air, shouts of catch everywhere. A, they didn't catch it, B, didn't hit it. And 21 for 1 is what the score remains. But 4 close catches in now for Gloucestershire. Forward short leg, leg slip, regulation first slip to the left arm over, and a man in at silly mid-off under the helmet as well. As Zafar is in once again, and a Brown again going back on his stumps. It spins past him, past the wicketkeeper's gloves as well, and they'll take a couple of runs here, which obviously just flicked Brown's, just the flap of his pad, and they pick up a couple of leg byes. 23 for 1.
We were noting during the interval the oddity of just having the one extra in Gloucestershire's second innings. I know it wasn't the longest innings, but you'd think with a lot of turnout there, you'd have got some byes or something at some point, just the one leg bye.
Zafar in once again, and Brown right back on his stumps, pushes out to the man at silly mid-off on the bounce for no run. Brown on 6, Wesley on 2. Target is 79, remember. Zafar in again, and right back on his stumps, but again striking high up. Wicketkeeper comes stumbling forward, thinking it might have hit a glove of Nick Brown as it rolled up his pads, and there's head in hands there from a couple of close infielders as well. It might just have taken the glove, and it drops away behind him. There's no run, end of the over, a maiden, 3 overs, 1 maiden, none for 6 so far for Zafar, and Essex are 23 for 1. They require a further 56 for victory.
I suppose it just shows you really how Gloucestershire probably only needed one more contribution in their second innings, and actually this could have been seriously difficult for Essex. It's tricky out there as it is, but with just 56 more runs to play with, I don't think anyone seriously believes Gloucestershire are going to win the game, but if they were chasing 120, 130, then it could have been extremely difficult. Higgins to continue, and he bowls to Wesley, who turns leg side, picked up at short mid-wicket by Miles Hammond, and there is no run. As Higgins was running in to deliver that ball, Chris Dent and Ollie Price were swapping over between themselves at first and second slip. So Wesley, unaware of that, didn't pull out, but I suppose technically they were changing the field while Higgins was running in and bowling. He's in once more and bowls to Wesley, flowing drive through extra cover. That's a really pleasing shot from Tom Wesley, and it careers away to the boundary for 4. 6 to Wesley, 27 for 1, and 52 more runs to win.
Trademark Tom Wesley, that's what got him into the England side, that lovely flowing drive. There are some that said it got him out of the England side as well, because it not only was it a strength of his, it could be a weakness as well, but that was a lot closer in, a lot closer to the body. The bat wasn't away from the body there, and a beautifully executed shot.
In comes Higgins, and he bowls to Wesley. This one comes back into him, and it's flicked out towards deep backward square leg, where Tom Price Fields hurls the throw in to the gloves of Bracey, and a single is taken, and Wesley on to 7. Essex 28 for 1. A couple of stats sent to me very kindly by Adrian Thomas from that previous innings. For Essex versus Gloucestershire, that's the second best bowling figures for a match from Simon Harmer. Just Stan Nichols, 15 for 165 in 1938, better than that, as Higgins bowls to Brown round the wicket. Brown defends up towards Shaw at mid-on, and there is no run. It's also the highest 9th wicket stand for Gloucestershire versus Essex at Chelmsford between Zaffer and Matt Taylor, and amazingly Zaffer was also involved in the previous highest, which was last year with Ryan Higgins. In comes Higgins and bowls. That's an uppish looking drive from Brown, but he's picked the gap. He's got it to the left of Hammond at extra cover, and that will be 4 more runs, and this is just easing the nerves, if there were any at all, from Essex supporters. 9 off this over, and just 47 more needed to win, with Brown on to 10.
Yeah, by no means got all of that, Nick Brown. As you say, it was slightly uppish, but wide of the fielder, outer part of the face of the bat, I think, there. But nevertheless, 4 runs, and that'll make him feel better as well.
Here comes Higgins. He's there and bowls to Brown, who clips away down towards fine leg. Matt Taylor will do the fielding, and another run is added. So a profitable over there for Essex, 33 for 1 after 7 overs. Higgins having got the wicket of Cook, which he certainly enjoyed, I think it's fair to say, despite the match situation. Well, I mean, I suppose at that point a few wickets and Gloucestershire still could have piled some pressure on, but he certainly, as you would, enjoyed seeing the stump of the former England skipper cartwheeling backwards. Oh, one other stat for Zaffer personally, that is his 3rd highest first class score. Previous highest both came in the same Pakistan domestic season, 2019 to 20. He made a 99 and a 100 not out.
Well, he's bowling now, and he's in and bowling to Brown. He goes back on his stumps and plays defensively for no run.
It has been a terrific match for him. 5 for with the ball in the first innings, and 3rd highest first class score with the bat.
Very quickly turns, has the ball back in hand once again, giving that one a bit more flight, and Brown just tucking the bat in behind the pad there, and rolls off the front pad for no run. Yes, he's aggregated more than 100 runs in the game, I think, hasn't he, as well?
Yes, he will have done. Yeah.
He tosses himself a catch in, and that's a bit straighter, and Brown can go right back on his stumps and play out on the onside, and Zaffer skips across the strip and fields off his own bowling. Yes, that's not bad. A fifer, more than 101 runs in the game as well. He's in and bowling to Brown. Brown comes down the pitch and drives nicely, and again he's picked the gap, and the moment it goes past the extra cover fielder, you can give it up, because it just gathers pace across this parched outfield, and Brown picks up another boundary, and the Essex score moves up to 37 for 1, a further 42 required.
Nice use of the feet from Brown, and a really solid shot through the extra cover region, but getting to the pitch of the ball, negating whatever turn there would have been out of the foot marks, and a nicely executed bit of batting.
And Zaffer, ball back in hand into Brown, doesn't release the ball this time, Zaffer, and Brown didn't move, actually, in fairness to him. I don't know if Zaffer was seeing whether Brown's got a trigger movement or not, but he just stood there.
He completely did me, I have to say. I thought maybe you bowled a sort of a moon ball or something. I was looking up in the air to see where it had gone.
Back on your heads, everybody, as Brown goes back on his stumps and plays defensively for no run again. 37 for 1. That after Gloucestershire added 112 more runs this morning for the loss of those 4 wickets, and mainly, as Ed's been wonderfully illustrating, thanks to that man with the ball in hand at the moment, Zaffer Gohar. In again to Brown. Bit more flight, and Brown plays defensively. There's a shout for a catch. The man who took the catch, stealing mid off, was the least enthusiastic of everybody around the bat. It's not out, end of the over, and it is 37 for 1.
Yes, it didn't convince too many people, but it was a nice, sharp catch from Hammond. One-handed scooping kind of effort to catch it, but unfortunately for Gloucestershire, no bat involved, and I think everybody knew it. Now, what are we at? We are 8 minutes away from lunch, aren't we? So I suspect it depends. It might well depend how many runs we get in these next few overs as to don't know. I think it will. I think it will depend how many runs are scored. If you take off another 10, then 10, 15, then I think it's quite likely that we'll get the extra.
Change of bowling at the Hayes close end.
Indeed, Tom Price replacing Ryan Higgins, and Price is in and bowling to Westley, who works that one out towards deep square leg firmly, but just for the single, 38 for 1.
Do remember a test match, and this is going back a long time. Don may remember this. It was at Lord's, and England were going to lose to New Zealand, and New Zealand needed 1 run for victory, and they took lunch. And David Gower came on to bowl after lunch. I think it was Martin Crowe may have hit the winning runs. This is a long time. I mean, I think we're going 80, so I remember watching it. And they needed. I think they needed 1. It may have been 1. I think it was definitely 1, possibly 2 or 3 runs. And yeah, they took lunch.
Tom Price over the wicket to Brown, who guides that one. I think it's not really an edge. Just guided away down through the gully, and 4 runs. And that's 42 for 1 now, with Brown on to 19, and it does look as if there's the distinct possibility that these runs are going to be down low enough that they're just going to play this out, and then we'll have the players will have lunch, of course, but the game will be over.
The laws were the laws, and they had to take lunch. There was no sort of option of taking the extra half an hour. It's back in the 80s. I think Lord's was being rebuilt at the time as well. And yeah, I think almost certain, if my memory's not playing tricks on me, David Gower, I think he chucked it actually. I don't think he even kept his arm straight and just let them score the winning run.
There are 3 slips in place. Tom Price is in and bowls full, and Brown respectfully defends towards mid-off, and there is no run. Yeah, and some of the other instances involve kind of interruptions and bad lighting, that sort of thing. So you go out for kind of 20 minutes after having been off all day, and then you've still got to take tea, something like that. It's too early for an early tea, so we've still got to have the tea interval at the usual time. Yes, sometimes, as is often said, it doesn't help itself. Price bowls to Brown, who defends, rolls that one up the pitch for Price to pick up, tosses it away to Van Buren. And there was a discussion yesterday actually about Tom Westley being Essex's chief shiner, and the exact reasoning for that. Van Buren, even before he was captain, was Gloucestershire's chief shiner, but no, I don't know whether they do scientific studies to determine which player is the best shiner of the ball, but Van Buren's always had that responsibility. Price bowling to Brown, who's onto his toes a little to defend once more, away out into the covers, so he's pulled this over back a little as Price, after going for 5 off the first 2 balls. And he was excellent in Essex's first innings, picked up the wicket of Brown early on for 6, and then came back with that second new ball, and it was his wicket of Westley that just opened the door for Gloucestershire to be able to not quite skittle Essex from that point on, as Price is in and bowls, and Brown once more in behind that one and blocking it back to Tom Price. End of the over. Essex remained 42 for 1, needing 37 more runs to win. And it didn't quite absolutely collapse from there, but it did show that, well, a few things really. It showed what the new ball does on a lot of surfaces. It showed what a good exponent with that new ball Tom Price is, and he's been, as I was mentioning yesterday, one of the main bright spots for Gloucestershire over the past few games. I think this may be updated now. 11 wickets at 18.5 since coming back in, and those have not been on bowling friendly pitches by any stretch. And I suppose that's part of the thing about these new pitches. Your wickets are worth that bit more, so it has been that bit more impressive.
Zafar continues from the River End, so bowling away from us is in and bowling to the Essex captain Tom Westley. He plays defensively out to the offside, slightly uppishly. Silly mid-off gropes forward but can't get there, and there's no run.
I wonder how Dan Lawrence would play this if he did come out.
Yeah.
Try to hit all of them in one go.
Yeah, he's not backwards and coming forwards, and he won't change his mindset. Well, Dan Lawrence, Zafar in. And bowling to Westley, tries to drive inside out, hits the man at extra cover, and it's skipped up off one of the wicket ends, and extra cover has caught that in a tender area. He's just counting them all now. I think he's okay. Don't laugh, Ed. It's not you. You know it's not funny. Zaffer comes in, and Wesley plays defensively into the onside this time. No run.
Well, I tell you, the reason why I'm feeling okay to laugh about it is because even Chris Dent himself was chuckling.
It's just a simple ball. He's just going to field, and it's just skipped up one of the used wicket ends. Here's Zaffer in again. Fielders all around Tom Wesley there. Angles the bat behind square on the offside. Can't get a single there either. 42 for 1. 37 more required for victory by Essex.
He has looked threatening in this spell as Zaffer, and we're talking about that LBW shout, but you know, you could think, give him, you know, an extra few overs than he's going to get, and a few more runs to defend, then he may well have had a decent chance at bowling Gloucestershire to victory if he'd had a few more runs to play with. But then Essex have outplayed Gloucestershire to this point, which is why he doesn't have those runs to play with.
Wants to change in the field, and he's not getting it. Zafar is in, and Wesley pushes defensively back to him for no run. He just stopped and was attracting something, and the man at silly mid-off just shook his head. So back to his bowling mark he goes once again. Bright sunshine here at Chelmsford, parched outfield, burning hot conditions. Zafar in, and Wesley again makes it with the full face of the bat. End of the over, no run there. 42 for 1. We've had 10 overs of this Essex run chase. If you can call it it's not really a chase, is it? Then they're not chasing as such. Then they're not going for it. They're just going to get there at their own pace.
Yes, sort of inexorable march to victory, really. It's very similar, this game, in a lot of respects to last year's, just that actually, you know, I sort of tongue-in-cheek, I think, said this to somebody, but Gloucestershire have actually played slightly better than they did in the game last year. The final margin will say that, but the fact that just the fact that they've managed to give Essex a score to chase is one thing. As Tom Price is in and bowls full and driven dismissively by Nick Brown, wide of Higgins at mid-off, who couldn't quite get there. And that is 4 more to the total. 33 more runs to win. It's 12:59. So surely we will get the extra half hour to try to wrap this up.
A few more of those, says Nick Brown, and we'll get there very, very quickly. It was full outside off stump, and it's come ringing out of the middle of the Essex opener's bat and wide of mid-off, and across this outfield it's scuttered and into the boundary boards for 4.
Gloucestershire were bowled out for 76 first innings in the fixture last year. As Tom Price is in and bowling to Brown, who defends down the ground and takes a couple of steps down the pitch. Intriguingly, Higgins is going to field easily enough, and he just saw the back of Tom Wesley looking to see Higgins pick the ball up. So it was fairly clear to him after those first couple of steps that there was not going to be a single there. Gloucestershire 76 and 197, played Essex 276. So it was basically this game, just with a few more runs in each innings. Tom Price moves in and bowls. That's flicked in the air off the shoulder of the bat, I think, there from Brown into the leg side. And there's no run. It was well short of Zaffer at mid-wicket, but he wasn't in control of it.
I'll be updating BBC Essex listeners in a few moments. Yeah, we are a minute past 1, aren't we? So we're telling them about how Essex have got on. Simon Harmer, 13 for 156 in the game. 8 wickets in the Gloucestershire second innings.
Tom Price in and bowls, and Brown turns that one away down towards long leg and picks up a single. 47 for 1. Apologies for the slight silence there. I just noticed how incredibly hot my laptop was getting, so I think I'm just going to hide it.
Yeah, I'm slightly in the shade here, slightly behind the video screen we've got, so hopefully that he'll manage to survive.
Having already had a melted battery, I think melting the rest of it would probably not be a terrific option. Yeah, it's hot at the moment. My battery was on the blink, but it ended up swelling up to the point that it's destroyed the casing as well. A great big lump on the bottom of my laptop where the battery expanded. Tom Price moves in and bowls a short ball, which Wesley ducks underneath. He did get Lawrence out with a short ball in the first innings, so you can't say it's not worth a try, even if it's not going to be a fearsome, 90-mile-an-hour bouncer or anything. You can still force an error from a batter if they're not expecting it.
Element of surprise.
78 miles an hour according to the speed gun there, but even so, they do get wickets. Last ball of the over, Tom Price in and bowls, and Wesley whips this one through mid-wicket. There'll be at least 2 here, might be 4. There's a big chase on for Hammond round the boundary, goes into the slide and hauls it in.
Yeah, they are heading towards victory here, Pete, as well. They've just picked up another couple of runs here. 79 is the victory target, and they are now 50 without loss. So a further 29 runs is required here, but the players are going to take lunch. The extra half an hour has not been taken. They are going to take lunch, with Essex requiring a further 29 runs for victory. Earlier on in the morning, credit to Gloucestershire, they added 112 runs, mainly down to the innings of Zafar Gohar, who eventually was out-stumped by Adam Rossington off the bowling of Simon Harmer for 81. Harmer finishing with match figures here of 13 for 156. But Essex will come back after lunch, needing to knock off a further 29 runs for another win at Fortress Chelmsford.
just grown a moustache as well, because it's you've
A
got
red, well, it's a red
melted.
one, yes.
Yeah, it's all melted. Yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
dear. It is very, very hot.
Listen, Ed, it was good to see a little fight this morning, because
Yep.
some were talking about it could have easily happened and rolled over, but Gloucestershire didn't, and it was this man in particular, the left-arm spinner, who batted so well.
And Zafar Gohar is bowling, and he starts off with a Yorker to Tom Westley, and he digs it out. Don't think he would necessarily have been expecting that, but he's negotiated it rather well. Yep, Zafar Gohar with his Gloucestershire best score. Third highest in his first-class career overall, as reaching forward is Westley and defends that one back up the pitch. Yeah, it was him. Tom Price also hitting Simon Harm for 20 off and over, 2 6s and 2 4s.
Yeah, yeah.
That was entertaining at least. As Westley whips this one away, wide of mid-on, Matt Taylor will field, and it's just the single. And 51 for 1 is the Essex total. He says, trying desperately to coax his ailing laptop back into life. It's not the heat this time, it's just my attempts to type one-handed going wrong.
It's just been obvious after this delivery.
Zafar over the wicket to Brown, forward in defence, bat and pad quite close together, rolls to silly point.
Gohar has been your sole half a centurion. He was the only Gloucestershire man to get a 50. And of course, your first innings, that was quite crucial, being bowled out quite cheaply before Alistair Cook got his 100.
Zafar bowls, and there's some turn there. There's a belated appeal for leg before wicket. He didn't play a shot, but whether that
outside
did
the
enough
line
would be
as
the
well.
question.
Yeah.
I don't think he's... Well, he hasn't played a shot, it's just that it's not turned enough. Probably bounced too much as well. Last ball of the first over after lunch, and Brown, bat and pad close together. I have no idea what they're appealing for there. It's not one hand, one bounce. It was two hands, one bounce, and it was certainly not out LBW. Just the one run off that over from Zafar to start the final session of the match. Just 28 more needed by Essex to win.
Yep, listening to BBC Essex, BBC Bristol here at the Cloud County Ground. Chelmsford, beautiful sunny day, and my word, it's hot. And make sure you certainly wear a hat, cover up, rehydrate. But I'm led to believe, whilst the temperatures might go down for a couple of days, they're going to go even hotter. And there is a suggestion that in some parts of the UK, we could find it getting in the late 30s. Unbelievable.
Indeed. I mean, you're seeing it already get into the 40s on the continent, and it tends to be a few degrees hotter there than it is here, so it's only a matter of time until we get into the 40s, I think.
Well, stay safe, everybody, and hope you're well. It was one of the hottest days I've ever experienced at Nottingham for the T20 International. I couldn't sit in the stands. It was that hot, I had to move, and I ended up watching most of it on TV.
I can imagine. Miles Hammond is bowling.
As he bowls his first delivery, off spinner, pitched up, driven into the leg side, it goes into the leg side where it's fielded at mid-wicket. No run. Tom Westley having a look. Probably hasn't experienced the bowling of Miles Hammond too much. Three men round the bat, a slip, a leg slip, and a forward short leg on the leg side, driven into the offside where it's gone up to mid-on. Played with a spin, but it's bowled just about off stump, so playing with a spin into the leg side.
Hammond bowled 6 overs in the first innings, 26 runs conceded.
Decent off-spinner's action. This time it's kicked away from way outside the off-stump. A polite inquiry from perhaps forward short leg about the LBW, but I have to say, never in a month of Sundays.
Indeed not, no. But Hammond's first ball was edged by Alistair Cook, and Higgins had a one-handed attempt at it at slip, but just didn't stick.
Hammond in, little bit quicker, bowled, played into the leg side off the back foot, so it's well fielded at mid-wicket, where again Westley does not get a single. The score remains on 51 for 1, Brown on 24, Westley on 12.
And he'd been bowling well until his last over, which took a fair bit of tap.
And he bowls, gives it a bit of air, does Hammond, played out to the offside against the spin, but he's really got quite close to the pitch of the ball, has Wesley, and there is no run.
Yeah, just there was one spectacular drag down, I think I have to call it that, which got given the treatment. But until then, he'd actually got quite a lot of turn.
Hammond in, bowls, right arm over. This is played into the leg side. Look, he's probably got a run for it, but there was some risk to it because he was trying to hit it too square maybe, but it did just turn a fraction from the off spinner. But nonetheless, a decent ball to conclude that over. Second over after lunch, and Essex have moved to 52 for 1.
Plenty of spin options for Gloucestershire in this one. They've got Van Buren, Ollie Price, as well as these two. So Hammond's obviously got in the ear of Van Buren and said, "You need to be bowling me ahead of that lot."
Just remind me, Van Buren, was there an issue surrounding him earlier in the season? Something, was it to do with visa, or did he
I'll tell you,
qualify?
it was last year it was. Zafar bowls, and that's driven beautifully by Wesley from a very full length on the stumps, and he kind of cleared room for himself there to play that shot through the covers, and they will trot through for 3 runs, with Wesley moving on to 16, 24 more required by Essex to win. Yes, so at the beginning of the 2021 season, Van Buren had reached his 5 years residency, so would then be a full English qualified player, as it were. Zafar bowls, and down the pitch comes Brown, and kind of flicks this one somehow up towards mid-off in the end. I thought that might have gone towards mid-on the way that he was playing it, but he's picked up a single for it, 56 for 1. But unfortunately, because of COVID issues, the Home Office had been backed up in terms of their acceptance of such applications, and so he could only play as an overseas player. But Gloucestershire had already signed Dan Worrell and Craig Brathwaite at that time, as Wesley drives hard into the covers, and it's well stopped by Dent away to his left, and there is no run. So it was a really disrupted season for Van Buren last year, and he felt as if he was playing his best cricket as well, but that issue kept him out of an awful lot of games, as Wesley reaches forward, defends back to the bowler this time.
Formally sorted now that he is
yes, indeed.
Homegrown.
It all came through, I think, at some point in the off season. But he's lived in Bristol for years. He's got an English wife and kids born in Bristol. As Zafar bowls outside off stump, no shot from Wesley. It was just the paperwork, and everything had been done correctly. It was just that it hadn't come through, and so that paperwork issue. And they, of course, they asked the ECB for an exemption, I believe, but obviously that wasn't granted, as Wesley defends away towards cover point. Point moves across to his right to field the ball. It's Tom Price over there, and they can grab a single. So Wesley will keep the strike on 17. Essex 57 for 1, and there are 22 more runs required. And it was all the more frustrating, as I say, because he was playing, he felt, his best cricket, and he'd scored an extraordinary 110 off, I think it was something like 72 balls to beat Surrey in the first round of fixtures that year. And
at Bristol.
Indeed, at Bristol.
I remember it.
And then a couple of matches later, he can't play because Dan Worrell arrived, and the whole issue came to light.
Hammond bowls. This is driven into the leg side, quite full, played with the spin. Excellent bit of fielding at mid-wicket, which prevents the single for Essex.
It's Dent again in there. And of course, Dan Worrell now is a locally qualified player.
He is indeed for Surrey. Hammond in again, bowls it down the leg side, where Wesley forces it into the leg side with the spin. Goes all the way out to deep mid-wicket, where Wesley takes the single. The strike rotates, brings the left-handed Brown on 17 onto strike, and now Hammond will come round the wicket with a slip and a gully. Quite tight there next to the wicketkeeper, is in an off-spinner, and they still have persevered with the forward short leg, and rightly so, as Hammond will try and turn the ball away. to the left-handed opening batsman. He's in, bowls quite leg stumpish, where it's tickled round the corner to the man at 45, but the man at 45 has to move a good 5 yards, so Brown is called through by his partner Tom Wesley for a single. 59, is it? 59 for one.
Yep, Josh Shaw, the fielder there. Fair bit of ground to cover.
Hammond in, little shorter, played off the back foot, turned round the corner quite powerfully, goes out to the deep mid-wicket, who has to cover a bit of ground to deep square leg, where he collects and returns the ball. One more run to the right-handed Tom Wesley. Brown back on strike.
Normally it's the spinners who have this kind of treatment to them, but Josh Shaw's only bowled the 8 overs in the match, and Matt Taylor just the 6, although I think at one point Matt Taylor was off with an injury.
Absolutely right. Driven very powerfully through the offside. He's pounced on the half volley. Just pitched up a little further by Miles Hammond, and nothing wrong with that. But it was a good shot from Nick Brown, who's hit it through extra cover for 4. You talked about your seamers there, Aaron Beard. No disrespect to him.
Yeah.
I think he bowled 4 or 5 in the first innings and probably bowled no more than 6 in the second, I think.
Yeah.
You'll be able to tell me?
5 in the first, and so far... Oh, sorry, not so far in the second innings, 5 in the second as well.
So 10 in the match. Hammond in, little shorter, played off the back foot. Brown looks to punch it into the offside, leg side, and he collects the single, and that concludes the end of the over. 65 for 1 in search of a winning total of 79, which Essex require.
A ripple of applause for the 50 partnership between Brown and Wesley. We had an email at one point about Brown's position in the side, so evidently, at least from the fans, if not from anyone else, there's sort of feelings that he needs some runs. So even in a short chase like this, a 40 odd not out, I'm sure can do wonders for confidence and just tick that average up a bit as well.
Because he wasn't involved in the T20 Blast, he was actually playing for, I think it was Whittam in the Essex, in the not two counties, the East Anglian Premier League, and he did score some runs for Whittam.
Here's Zaffer bowling to Brown, who's forward, defending into the offside, and that's a good quick single taken. Matt Taylor was fairly deep at mid-off and has kind of been pushed back there because of the number of superb looking drives through that region that Brown has played. So 1 run closer go Essex, just 13 more needed to win. 2 slips. Silly point short leg as Wesley whips this one away towards Matt Taylor again. Of course, he's at mid-on this time for the right-handed Wesley, and it's another single. 67 then for 1. 12 more needed to win. Zaffer is not hanging about here. Of course, he's still seeking a wicket, but he's not wasting too much time at this point. And Brown, shout for leg before wicket here, but I think he's got his pad outside the line of off stump, and this time he was playing a shot, but nice ball from Zaffer which turned into Brown past the inside edge. He's a terrific appealer, is Zaffer, as he moves in and bowls. Down the pitch comes Brown and drives pleasantly. Good effort from Matt Taylor at mid-off, away to his left-hand side to keep it down to just the 1. Would easily have gone for 4 if it had got past him. 68 for 1, with 11 more needed by Essex. At one point, I think it was at Old Trafford, Zaffer appealed so hard he toppled over backwards, much to the amusement of everybody else on the field. I think in the end, including himself as well, as Wesley defends this one away to the covers. There's no run. Such was the force of the appeal as he sprinted backwards. He ended up tripping over his own feet, unfortunately. Zaffer's in and bowling. Sweep shot comes out. I don't think there was any bat on that, as it was down the leg side. It looped up in the air away from Bracey anyway, and that is the end of the over. And I do notice that they do like to put the run rate required, as well as on the pictures that we have on the scoreboard as well, as Glenn was noting earlier. So I'll tell you that the required run rate is 0.07. Vital information. Essex are 68 for 1. They need 11 to win.
Gosh. That could be quite dull if it was going to occupy that kind of time, wouldn't it, eh? Eh? Gosh. But we're bathed in sunshine. It's very humid. There's hardly a breath of fresh air. The flags are really not fluttering. And it's going to be Miles Hammond again, bowling to Brown. Brown forces into the leg side safely against the spin. Goes out to wideish mid-on where they take a single. Brown collects his 35th run and the score is now 69, sorry. 69 was head then of the scoreboard. Hammond again, 3 men round the bat. Driven into the leg side. That's just going to be the solitary one all the way out to deep mid-wicket, which Go Harfields throws a decent throw back to the keeper. 1 more run to Essex. That is now 70 for 1.
I think it was 31 degrees yesterday, but
Was it?
we had the sun in and we had a nice breeze as well, so it feels so much hotter today.
This time bowls and comes very far forward. Good leg stride there by Brown. Tall man smothers the spin. There is no run. Yeah, it was hot yesterday in London, but there was a breeze, as you said.
Did they get partial refunds, by the way? I only
You
wondered
read something
that.
on Twitter, didn't you?
No, we thought of it
Something
here.
controversial, wasn't it? No, there were no refunds for a shortened game. Hammond bowls. This is a full toss played into the leg side. That's going to be 4 as it races across the boundary towards the pavilion, square of the wicket here, the pavilion. And Brown collects 4. Yeah, there was a little bit of taking the mickey, I would suggest, where they said because England batted so poorly. Because at one point we all said it was the first ODI 50 overs. There were a number of people saying, are we still playing T20? Which was a bit cheeky. England batted the best part of what was it, 25 overs? And
Yes, I think it was basically 25, wasn't it?
Yeah, and here comes Hammond. Hammond bowls a little bit quicker, but it's shorter. It's been cut, and it's been cut wide of the man on the drive. It goes all the way out to the extra cover boundary for 4. And Essex are extremely close now. They are on 78 for 1 with 1 run needed for a county championship win, which will importantly keep them very close to Surrey and Lancashire in the county championship Division 1 table.
So they'll take 22, I think, from this. 6 bonus points plus the 16 for the win.
I'm wondering, this is me talking, or often quite controversial, I like the idea of more points for a win. I would improve it to 20, because you're going to have 2 stalemates probably at Scarborough and Southport as Miles comes in, and there's almost a late cut, an outside edge that runs down to 3rd man, and Essex take the single they need and will win this fixture, this county championship Division 1 fixture here at the Cloud County Ground, Chelmsford, and Essex defeat Gloucestershire by 9 wickets.
Congratulations, Essex. They have been the better team. There's been absolutely no doubt about that from really the first session of the match. For Gloucestershire, it is their 6th loss in 9 matches, and they will remain rooted to the foot of the county championship table. They have shown some good fight today, as we've been talking about earlier on, with Zaffer, and actually yesterday evening as well, with the 43 made by Ollie Price, some runs for Tom Price as well, but unfortunately, really, for the most part, they were comprehensively outplayed. They did also fight back as well, it's worth noting, in Essex's first innings, because Essex were at one stage 203 for 1, and they ended up bowling them out for 310, so it's not quite the total picture of doom and gloom that it might have been. But at the same time, Gloucestershire are still staring down the barrel of relegation.
Interestingly, watching from afar, Gloucestershire made 136, having won the toss and batted. When you look back, Ed, was that a mistake, or would you say Gloucestershire did Essex bowl particularly well, the seamers and obviously Harmer, but did Gloucestershire make a mistake by batting first?
I don't believe they did, no. I believe that batting first was the right decision. You expect the pitch just to continue to turn more and more, and if you've got a spinner like Zaffer, you're expecting that to be the pattern of the game. You've just got to go out and score first innings runs, and Gloucestershire absolutely did not do that. There were some poor shots, there was some poor decision making, and for the most part they were the architects of their own demise for the majority of those dismissals, as was pointed out quite fairly, I believe, by Tom Westley on the first evening, just stating the facts really. He said that they felt they bowled well, Essex, but that Gloucestershire gifted them a good 6 wickets or so, and I think that's absolutely fair. So I'm afraid Gloucestershire, in terms of this match, the first innings is where it's gone wrong. I think,
Yep.
you know, if you look at the bowling performance, even taking out of the equation the fact that they didn't look like taking a wicket for a lot of Cook and Westley's partnership, I think 310 at that stage is not actually the worst score to bowl a side out for on that pitch. I think Gloucestershire would have expected to get around about that sort of 300 mark as well, and you could have had a second innings game on which Gloucestershire would have been bowling last. So for me, I think they did the right thing by batting, but the where it's really gone wrong was that first innings with the bat, where they just didn't get enough runs.
Probably the wicket is at his best.
Exactly, yeah.
Well, on that second innings of the game, Essex's first innings, Cook made 145 and Westley 90. They were the main contributors in that 310 all out. So with a significant lead, Gloucester went back in and they were bowled out. Finally today, where they did show a bit of spirit. I mean, there were a lot of guys that had starts. Dent made 33. Harris probably hasn't had his most productive games here at Chelmsford. Hammer made 20. Price 43. Gohar was tremendous in his 81 off 75 balls with 10 fours and 3 sixes, and as you said, Price made a decent contribution of 23 and his brother 43 in their 252 all out. Must be mentioned that Harmer, with his 5 wickets in the first innings, 8 in the second, 8 out of 10, giving him 13 in the game, which was tremendous bowling, a lot of overs, 40 odd overs, so well done to him. Yep. Huge, well, just a great gentleman and a wonderful off spinner and a decent cricketer, really is a decent cricketer.
Yeah, and also just on Harmer, whilst I was focusing completely from the Gloucestershire point of view, it's well worth remembering that they weren't just bowled out by, you know, by a nobody. They were bowled out by one of the better spinners in the world, and probably the best, well, not probably, the best spinner in county cricket at the moment. So 13 wickets in the match for him. And the thing is that it's not... It's easy to say they played some poor shots against him in the first innings especially, but at the same time they're doing that because they know how good he is and they know that there's enough in the surface for him to take wickets, so they don't want to let him settle. They want to get on top of him, but I think there were some poor options taken at the same time. But yes, I do just want to say, amazing to watch Simon Harmer bowl as ever, one of my favourite cricketers in the world, and it was a privilege as ever to sit and watch him.
Huge man. He's your typical, you come from Bristol with Bath and all those great rugby grounds around there. He was a decent rugby player. He's got huge hands. He never knocks on. And you could imagine him being at the back of the scrum on a pick up and go. He really is a decent sportsman, Simon Harmer. But Essex then required 79 in their fourth and final innings. Brown with 43 not out. Cook was the only man to go, bowled by Higgins for 9. Tom Westley was there at the end with 21 not out. Bowling figures: Higgins 4 overs, 1 for 25. Gohar opened the bowling, 8 overs, 2 maidens, 0 for 19. Bowled quite tasty, bowled nicely. Price made 2 overs, 0 for 13, and Miles Hammond 3 overs, 0 for 20. All in all, Essex have won this game at the Cloud County Ground, Chelmsford, by 9 wickets. For the future, Gloucestershire are off back home, but to the great festival town of Cheltenham. Indeed. Who have you got down there? You've got
Hampshire
2 home
first
games.
Of all. Yeah, Hampshire first on the 19th of July, and then it's Northamptonshire on the 25th. Those are the 2 championship matches. There's a Rachel Hayhoe Flint Trophy match in between the Western Storm and the South East Stars. So the festival is next, and regardless of what's come before, I cannot wait for the Cheltenham Festival as ever. One of the great
It is.
great things about county cricket, the Cheltenham Festival.
Cheltenham Festival is wonderful, but so's the town of Cheltenham as well. Love the restaurants, the ambience in the evenings, in the summertime out in Cheltenham. Beautiful. Just from Essex's point of view, well, they go off to the Oval. Now, whenever Essex play Surrey, look, there's a bit of a divide. It is a kind of local derby, and they don't often enjoy each other. We at Essex call the Surrey boys the Brown Hatters. I won't suggest what the Surrey boys call Essex, but they've always been known, even in my day, as the Brown Hatters. But Essex go to the Oval, having crept up the table. They haven't changed places with anyone, but they've got a little closer to Surrey, Hampshire and Lancashire. And they've got a game in hand. But most importantly, you know, if Essex do happen to beat Surrey, then Essex will go particularly close or in front of Surrey. It's going to be very, very interesting. So Surrey are up at Yorkshire at Scarborough. You've got Lancashire are at home hosting Somerset at Southport. It looks like they won't have positive results. Meanwhile, Essex have got that game in hand in due course. They're currently fourth. They're probably not going to change, but they're with the chasing pack. So Essex they play Surrey at the Oval next week, and then a humdinger of a battle with Somerset here. But I do believe Essex might not have Simon Harmer for that game.
This is Kent and...
Somerset?
No, he's here for Somerset.
Oh, they'll be so displeased with that. They will. But anyway, that's it here from the Cloud County Ground, Chelmsford, where we thank you for listening. We hope you've enjoyed the ball-by-ball coverage here with BBC Essex, BBC Bristol. And our sincere thanks to you, but also to our commentary team earlier in the week. That was Dick Davies, Paul Newton, and from today we wish you a very good afternoon from Ed Seaborn, Glenn Speller and Don Topley. Thank you all.
Essex take charge with Cook 145 and 10 in the match for Harmer. For the second round in a row, Simon Harmer shone. His 5-wicket haul on day one at the Cloud County ground puts Essex in charge, and the strong position was capitalised on by twin 50s from Sir Alistair Cook and Tom Wesley to move the hosts to 9 behind the visitors with 9 wickets in hand. The pair had looked serene from the moment they came together following Nick Brown's early departure, and at the resumption, that serenity resumed, the deficit quickly erased, and the experienced campaigners set about building a lead. And themselves a 150-run partnership, the day not yet going to plan for the visitors. No matter what Gloucestershire tried, Cook and Wesley were unmoved, untroubled and unwilling to relent. 200 on the board with a single from the former England captain, who had now moved into the 90s. Wesley joined him there, but with 10 needed for his ton, Gloucestershire finally made the breakthrough they'd been desperate for. Price's delivery beat the outside edge and took off stump to bowl the Essex captain. Cook brought out a trademark shot to move to his 100, chopping the delivery through the space behind point to the boundary. 236 balls to move to the century for a 73rd time in first-class cricket. The former England captain then lost his partner, Dan Lawrence, outskying a catch to Zafar Gahar off the bowling of Price, who now had all 3 to his name. But Walter stuck with Cook through to lunch, Essex in charge at the break, leading by 86 with the score 222 for 3. Walter would fall after lunch with just 4 more added to his total, falling into the trap set by Zafar Gahar, caught at leg slip for 10. Critchley joined Cook in the middle and moved the score beyond 250, but could do little else, out for 7 off the bowling of Gahar. Higgins with a fine catch close in. And Gahar followed it up with another, snater down the track, a slashing blade aimed over the offside, but to no avail, out for 1, stumped by Bracey. Rossington and Cook recovered, big hitting from the keeper helped Essex take the score to 1 away from 300. But that's where Cook fell, edging through to Bracey off the bowling of Higgins, out for 145. Rossington responded, the 300 brought up with an enormous slog sweep that soared over the pavilion. He tried to repeat the shot a few balls later, but this time Gahar found the pads, and Rossington had to go. LBW for a quick fire 21 off 16. They were running out of steam. Harmer out for a 5-ball duck, out caught low down by Price in the slips off the bowling of Ryan Higgins. and Zafar Gahar was a fitting bowler to finish it off. Porter, his fifth, out for one, flashing a catch to Van Buren. Essex all out for 310, with a lead of 174. And while they were in charge, that was largely due to Cook's 145 and Wesley's 90. Rossington's 21 off 16 was the only other score higher than 10 in what really had been a good effort with the ball from the visitors, typified by Zafar Gahar's figures of 5 for 84. It was another sorry start from Gloucestershire though, no prizes for guessing who picked up the wicket after tea. Harris out as Harmer turned one through the gate, and then he added Higgins to his growing list of victims, well taken after a bit of juggling at short leg by Nick Brown. Gloucestershire moved past 50, but Harmer was back in the wickets again. Hammond out bowled for 20. He soon had a fourth. Bracey out for 6, well stumped by Rossington, and Dent was next. 5 for Harmer, 10 in the match, LBW for 33. Essex surely now starting to think about wrapping it up today. Van Buren and Ollie Price hit back at Essex and moved the score along to 3 figures, but they were going for it with spin at both ends, and Critchley joined Harmer in the wickets. Van Buren outcaught by Cook for 12. Despite the pressure, Gloucestershire clung on through to the close of play. The score 140 for 6, and the deficit now down to 34. Essex are in total control now, barring a batting miracle from the lower order. The only question left to answer is when Essex will seal the victory on day 3.
Another day, another Simon Harmer exhibition of spin bowling. Yesterday, Tom Wesley ran out of words to describe your bowling, but it's been a real privilege to watch.
Yeah, I guess I see it as my job. If the wicket's turning, I feel like I need to be the one to take wickets. So, enjoy well, I can't really say enjoy, but it is what it is. Like, I see it as my job. So, hopefully a few more tomorrow and we can wrap it up.
And as proven there, I know you're modest about personal achievements, but 15 wickets in the last match and 10 so far in this one, with a few more up for grabs tomorrow. I'm not sure what the record is for wickets in consecutive games, but you'd have to imagine you're pretty close.
Yeah, I think I found it incredibly tough at the start of the season. There wasn't a lot going on in terms of turn and getting anything out of the wicket. So I guess when it's your day, you've got to make sure that you go big, because you don't know when things are going to dry up again. So happy with the run of form and the patch of wickets, but you take the good with the bad, and things change quickly.
And how much credit should go to Cook and Wesley? Those two played pretty much the perfect innings on a wicket and put up a 196 run partnership. No one else really got close to that.
Yeah, I think it probably goes unnoticed. I think their partnership was incredibly special and important in us setting up the game to get 170 runs ahead. I think when they got out, it showed how difficult it was to come in and score on that wicket, and I think Tom and Chef showed their class, how they went about their business, how disciplined they were, stuck to their game plans, and as frustrating it must have been to watch, because we weren't scoring that quickly. I think it was incredibly tough to score. Gloucester bowled well, and they were disciplined. So hats off to them. They've put us in this position and gave us the ability to come out this evening and attack and look for wickets.
And on Cook, 145 runs for him in this game and a 4th century of the season. He looks in really vintage form, and this innings also lasted more than 6 hours, which is a classic Cook trait, and it's a great sign that he's still batting time at the top of the order. Yeah,
I think it just showed why he has the record that he has, scoring the amount of runs that he did at test level. I think it was an exhibition of his, showing the discipline and the concentration, 2 of his better traits, that he stuck to it. But I think he was aided very ably by Tom Wesley, and to feel for him that he couldn't get to his 100 as well.
Adam Rossington claimed a couple of stumpings today, but and also kept brilliantly against Hampshire last time out. How impressed have you been with his keeping, especially standing up to the spinners? Yeah,
I think it's been unbelievable for somebody who's not grown up here and hasn't kept on a Chelmsford wicket. I think he's got incredible hands, and he's shown his class. Last week there were some tough chances, and this week as well. That stumping in the first innings, and he's incredibly quick to whip the bails off, and put the umpires under pressure to make decisions. So yeah, he's an asset, and very happy for him that he signed a contract at the club.
We last spoke on Friday night after a tough loss in the Vitality Blast quarterfinals. To come back in this fashion after such a short break suggests you really have the bit between your teeth. What's the attitude like in the changing room?
Yeah, I think everybody was disappointed. I think we all felt that we played good cricket throughout the T20 competition, and probably the best that we've been in a few years, including 2019. But it wasn't meant to be for us. But obviously, there's a very ambitious squad and a very ambitious change room, and the boys wanted to come out and make a push for the 4-day competition, and we've still got the 50 overs to look forward to. So still plenty of fight left, and happy that the guys could come out and put Friday behind them and put in a strong showing this week.